Oh, 7:01 it says.
Oh my goodness.
1, 2, 3.
I'll have to adjust that clock.
Okay. When you're ready. Oh. Hi, good evening. Welcome to the planning board meeting of Monday, July 8th. Ooh. And I will start by entertaining a motion to open the continued public hearings for Buckland Street and Leonard Street, the stormwater permit, and the petition to construct a paper street.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so just a process point. Mr. Atwell is not going to be here tonight, but he could not vote on this hearing anyway. And unfortunately, Mr. Durso is not going to be here, and missing this one means that he could not watch the previous one and this one, so he is no longer a voter. So our voters are Mary, Dave, myself, Gary, Amy, and Deb. But Robert's new to the board. Okay. And I think you need 6 for the stormwater? No, 5. And how about the paper street? 5. Okay, 5 for each. Okay. Good. Thanks, Kobe. Okay, so we had talked last time about jumping in on the waiver request. Did you want to start us off somehow?
Sure. Lou Petrozzi for Wall Street Development Corp. John was nice enough to send me an email asking for an updated list of waivers that we were requesting over and above what was originally proposed. And I did submit a revised list of waivers that has been revised based on the conversations that we've had with the planning board and the preferences that the board had relative to the certain items, and based on our revisions of the plan over the last 8 to 10 months. So essentially, the list of waivers, I'll go through them just quickly.
So what I think, just from a process point, I'm going to have you go over them one at a time, not necessarily so quickly. We're gonna bang through them and get questions and get our engineer and make decisions for you, okay?
Okay, great,
All right.
thank you. So the first waiver, just out of section 5.4, was an environmental analysis that seems to be required. So we asked for a waiver on that since we are in front of the Conservation Commission with the whole project, and and traffic impact report.
So we're going to stop on the environmental analysis. Your position is that you don't need the environmental analysis for this is for the road construction, just to be clear.
Yes.
And I'm going to go ahead and ask our engineer who's here if he has an opinion on the environmental analysis.
So Phil Paradis at Data Group.
Thank you.
I don't know that the road in particular has a significant impact, other than the issues we're discussing, wetlands, stormwater management, and those items.
So they would be, in your opinion, they would be captured in the stormwater permit process?
Right, yep.
And then the Concom review?
Right.
Thank you. Anybody around the table have questions on this?
Phil, you can probably stay there.
I'll start with you, Deb.
I'll pass the moment.
Okay. You may participate, but you can't.
No.
No issues.
So, Deb, last chance.
So we're waiting for Concom to make its final approval. So you're asking for us to make a wait? I'm just trying to figure out process.
No, so Concom, correct me if I'm wrong, Concom is not weighing in on this paper street petition. It is weighing in on the stormwater.
Well, no, they're weighing in on the construction of Buckland Street as well, but the reason why they have not taken this up in full is because we told them we were in front of the planning board, waiting for the final plan to be agreed to, and then we would submit to them, so they would vote on the same plan that we have in front of the planning board. So they have an open public hearing, and I guess it would be before the stormwater, because that's the one item that is within their jurisdiction, the 100-foot buffer zone. The rest of the roadway is outside their jurisdiction.
So did you submit something to them for the roadway standalone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And when are they going to hear that?
Well, we're going back there tomorrow night.
So yeah, I don't know which is the right order to go in, but I'd be in favor of waiting to see what Concom has, because there were some questions as to the drainage onto other properties. And not being an expert in that matter, I'd like to make sure with them that everything is together and put together well. That would be my only.
I totally understand that. I'm going to go ahead and entertain a motion on granting the waiver for the environmental analysis, which would mean there would be no environmental analysis required by this board.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments?
Would we add a condition that this will be subject to Concom?
I definitely think that our overall approval would, so that would be my
Okay,
preference.
That's a nice way to put it, yeah.
okay. That's fine.
So with a condition that any approval has as a condition Concom's successful
Approval or
approval.
interpretation, or what's
All
happening.
right. All those in favor of granting this waiver signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Traffic impact report, go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chairman, we felt that since this proposal, Buckland Street would only be able to service 4 residential dwellings at the most, that we didn't think that that was a significant impact to the access and egress from Buckland Street onto Pleasant Street. There's adequate sight distance in either direction, and so we asked for a waiver on the traffic report.
Do you have any thoughts on that at all? Anybody have any questions, or? I'll start at the other end. I'll start with Mary this time.
No, I don't think, I think, 4 houses does not add a huge amount. It certainly is a busy street that it would be going on to. But I don't think 4 houses is significant enough
Yeah.
to
How about you, Dave?
require a report.
Robert?
Yeah, I don't think 4 houses is gonna be the straw that broke the camel's back.
Barry?
Nothing.
Amy?
I agree, 4 houses is small.
Is in traffic impact reports, is there anything that talks about hours of construction coming in? Because there are neighbors that could be interrupted. I know the traffic reports are significantly for a larger scope, but where would something like that go?
So in my estimation, it would be just our overall construction bylaws, but
Yeah, so that wouldn't be a traffic impact study. That might be in an operation and maintenance plan, or
Okay.
construction management plan, something
Yeah,
like that.
so that would be my suggestion, is some interpretation of how we can guide them to be not disruptive to the neighborhood.
I'm gonna put a note over here, just O&M plan for construction issues, which it will be included, but we can make sure, okay, Deb?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve waiving the completion of a traffic impact report.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Go ahead.
The next waiver requested was section 8.2.1.g, which deals with property lines at street intersections to be rounded or cut back to provide it for curb line radius not less than 15 feet. Quite honestly, I'm not familiar with that particular waiver where it intersects on Pleasant Street, but we thought that, given its location, that we might include that waiver going forward.
I imagine that it also is the emergency access piece on Maple Street Extension as well.
Right,
So you wouldn't have that on there either.
exactly.
So Phil, what is that exactly for? Is that the vehicles, the emergency vehicles, or?
So, yeah, typically you want to provide a right, it's the property line, it's the right-of-way lines that would typically have a radius where they meet, so that your sidewalk would be able to follow the curb line, and the sidewalk would be within the right-of-way, which typically goes out at the intersection. In this case, he doesn't own the property. It's not in the right of way. So right now there's no sidewalks proposed, so they don't have to fit that in.
Through the chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I had a question for Phil. Does this affect the fire department turning, just to have the rounded corners of pavement meeting up with Pleasant Street? Is this something for the fire department?
So typically the traffic, the turn plan, the auto turn plan, or swept path plan, whatever you want to call it, would take into account where the curbing is. But because there is no sidewalk, they can put the curbing right at the apex of the property line.
Can I make a point that the sidewalk?
Hold on one second.
Lack of sidewalk.
Hold on one second. Go ahead and finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
The lack of sidewalks is a separate waiver, so
It is a
I don't think we
separate-
should assume that there's not going to be any sidewalks.
I agree. It is a separate waiver. Yep. I'm sorry, I kind of lost it. So it's not necessarily the fire department's requirement?
No, I mean, obviously you want to have an access that the fire truck, the emergency vehicles can access.
Right.
But I think the whole right of way, if you have enough land, you can create the right of way so that everything's nice and neat, and your conventional sidewalks, your grass strips, and yada yada, the whole section could fit in there. In this case, and in several cases, similar to it, if they're created before, if the right of way is created before the subdivision regulations, you can't fit them in, or you can ask, get a waiver or get a easement from the neighbors to provide that, and that's how you would address it.
Yes.
Through the chair, I guess 2 questions. So number 1, if there were sidewalks, then this waiver becomes more meaningful, correct? And then secondly, so from what you're describing, it sounds like if we were to require this rounding, then that would result in additional land being impacted for the abutters.
We maybe discuss this when we discuss sidewalks. And there are currently no sidewalks on Pleasant.
There are no sidewalks on Pleasant?
On that side of the street.
On that side of the street.
On that side of the street. Okay.
Yeah, but you have sidewalks.
Yeah, it does make sense to talk about sidewalks at the same time.
Can I?
Yeah.
If I may, I'm looking at the 8.2.1, and there's 7 subsections. And I understand what Phil's talking about, the radar, but I don't see anything about sidewalks and right-of-way So, and they didn't say they said all of them just blindly. I'd like to feel more comfortable about exactly what we're waiving.
So your point is 8.2.1 G?
8.2.1
G.
G. I have it as the waiver being in section 8.2.1, location and alignment all subsections.
This is the updated one.
Oh, the
Has
updated
a
one.
G next to it.
Okay, so it's only G. Thank you, that's an update. That helps.
Yeah.
Property, can I read, is it okay? if I
Yeah,
read?
no,
It's pretty
please
short.
do, please do.
Property lines at street intersections shall be rounded or cut back to provide for a curb line radius of not less than 15 feet. Graded radii shall be required by the board where determined. So I guess I would ask specifically, why is this an issue?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm not an engineer, I'm not quite sure why it's an issue, but it's, we can't, at the intersection of where the right-of-way of Pleasant Street and the corner of Buckland Street and the adjacent property, we can't provide a rounding at that, where those 2 points intersect. The reason why we comply with the turning street, the truck plan and so on, is because where Buckland Street intersects Pleasant Street, the edge of the pavement is approximately 30 feet away from the edge of the right-of-way. So we can provide a turning radius out within the right-of-way.
Into the other side of the street.
Right, so, but we can't provide a turning radius, because these lines come in at at 90-degree angles to the street, so we can't provide a turning radius where this is saying that where the two lines intersect, basically.
Thank you.
So it's out of our control relative to that particular provision. But we do provide the roundings where the entrance of Buckland Street intersects with Pleasant Street, the existing paved way of Pleasant Street, if that makes any sense to you.
John, did you have anything, I forgot to ask you on the first two, but I apologize for that.
No comments on that, yeah.
I see that we have a comment from the audience. Mr. Webier?
Good evening, Peter Barberry. Again, I represent the owners of 60 and 62 Pleasant Street. Two quick points. One, as I understand the plan now, it includes additional improvements on Maple Street extension. And that was not part of the original plan and application. So I would question whether that aspect of it can go forward without that property owner signing, without a public hearing notice, without notice to abutters of that new land being part of the application. I think they're entitled to that review and approval. So that's procedural item number one. Item number two, from the viewpoint of the construction waivers that you're now beginning to talk about, and had no issues with the first two waivers that you talked about. But from the viewpoint of the construction waivers, your stormwater regulations set up procedures and guidelines and construction details to protect the town and protect the abutters, and I don't think there's any reason to waive any of those. There's no argument that beyond the first 220 feet of road, the applicant owns all the land to make all those improvements that are called for under your regulations. So there's technically no reason to waive any of those, be it curbing, be it sidewalk, be it underground utilities, be it lights, be it any aspect dealing with drainage requirements as well, because he has the land, it's his own land, there's nothing stopping him from completing the improvements in accordance with your regulations. The first 220 feet or so, a little bit of a different story in the sense that those regulations, that width of way, assuming he has rights in those, is limited as to what he can build. Questions from that, from the viewpoint of porous pavement, were opposed to that without a specific agreement in maintenance and a budget. If they're going to have it, to make sure it's maintained, there's a sufficient budget for those property owners to make sure it's maintained, not only for our protection of my clients, but also the town, because a portion of that extends out into the roadway. So I don't think you should take any action on any of that stuff until a budget is in place, a maintenance agreement is in place that's recorded, affecting all the lots that would be part of this development. So Construction waivers we're against, particularly beyond the first 220 feet. The other ones I think we're against in the nature of anyone that would have impacted drainage running off into client's property. And I don't think any approval should be given until such time as it's proven, not that it shall not affect the butters, but it's proven that it will not affect the butters. And there shouldn't be any condition of approval for a subsequent review and approval of things, because that's the purpose of this public hearing. So those are the 2 points.
Thank you so much.
Through the chair,
Yes.
I just want to say that I totally agree, and I was looking for the right time in these waivers to state exactly what the gentleman said as far as treating the first section of the 220 feet different and not, allowing some waivers, but the second section, it's all his property and he should build a road like every other developer builds a road.
I totally understand. Anybody
Thank
else
you.
want to? Yep. Okay. Other questions or comments on the property lines, the pavement rounding at street intersections, which would be, following this conversation, in the part of the property that he doesn't own completely in control?
Well, I don't see any specific details as to what he would suggest as an alternative, except that he said it would be rounded. And I'm seeing a picture over there that shows it rounded, but I don't think it's in our folder. We didn't get it in time.
It's
So I'm
included,
seeing,
it's included in the plans
We don't have
submission.
new plans.
but, so that blued section is, can some,
This plan was submitted as part of the plan package. So what we're talking about is in this area
it's a
right here.
minor curve.
Right.
And,
This section here, which is what Mr. Barberi is claiming that is a new submission to the application, we disagree. It's an easement, and so it's not part of the...
Do we yet have the documentation that easement exists?
I have documentation that we have...
We yet have documentation that that easement exists?
No, we have an agreement.
So I don't know how we approve a plan if we don't know that that includes that
Well,
necessarily.
I was reading
We
through
don't
some
have
of your other decisions that you made, and you made it...
You know what, we're talking about this one, and
Well, then-
I'm gonna lose my patience really quickly if we don't stay focused on this one. I'm
Okay.
just telling you where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, we're happy to provide a copy of the agreement. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we made quite a few modifications to address public safety and fire access and fire protection.
Yeah.
And that's all part of the agreement that we have to make those improvements,
Yep.
that we can offer those to the
And
town.
I know for a fact we asked for you to provide that documentation, or I did. So if you're happy to do so, I really would like you to do so.
I'll discuss it with the owners and see if they want to disclose it. I mean, it's not there's a confidentiality.
Well,
agreement.
your plan hinges on, at least in part, on that
Okay,
ability to do that. so.
understood. We can set that, yeah.
Would it be appropriate to disclose the nature of the agreement without the financial terms? Because, I mean, what
Oh,
we
I
care...
don't care about
what-
the financial
That's my point. I mean, I think what
Oh.
Mr. Petrosi's concerned with is that there's some financial considerations that they don't want to disclose. All we care about is that there's actually some agreement in place.
Yeah, there is a signed agreement, but essentially, I don't know if you were at the last meeting or not, but we met with the homeowners, and they have some improvements that they'd like to see to help their, they don't have access to sewer, they don't have access to a strong water system there. We were amenable to extending the sewer line to their property so they would be able to tie into our force main. And we were also met with the fire chief because on Maple Street Extension, there isn't currently a hydrant for fire protection. So, which would also help them. We were extending the water main up Buckland Street to the corner of Maple Street Extension and Buckland Street and installing a new hydrant. And we're also providing them with new driveway accommodations on their property that would also act as a turnaround for emergency vehicles in the event, and also we're going to provide snow plowing and that kind of maintenance that would be part of the homeowners association that would take care of.
So all I'm suggesting is that you can redact any sensitive information to it
We
and
could
provide something.
probably make accommodations to that.
And clearly, they may not have seen the sewer rates, what's happening with those in town.
Well, I know that they're looking for people to tie in, so best I know. But that is the reason why I don't feel that they need to, it's not needed to amend the application, because it's an existing right-of-way. We simply obtain their permission to make these improvements in exchange for lack of objections to the proposal. It's already an existing right-of-way, similar to Buckland Street, so we're just making it a connection, which under your regulations, if you really go into 8.2.1A, the board's regulations provide that we're obligated to provide extension of the roadway to properties to make connections for future roadway networks. So this, in some respects, would be doing that by connecting the two roads.
Yes.
I think we're kind of good on this, because to your point, Muriel, we'll get it in writing, and to Gary's point, we can redact it and don't need the financials, so I would suggest that we make a motion to vote on the third.
I'd be happy to email the agreement to John in the morning, if that would be acceptable to the board.
So I'm just thinking in my head about an approval of the waiver that is conditioned upon the applicant's proven ability to utilize the pieces of property.
That makes sense, but which waiver were you thinking?
This is 8.2.1.G, number 3 on our list.
Okay, because of the rounding applies to both sections?
Yes.
Okay, just
Yeah.
thank you.
So does that make sense? I'll entertain a motion to approve this waiver to waive the requirement to round the pavement at street intersections.
Subject to.
If subject to,
Not the pavement, property line.
sorry, say pavement, it does say pavement rounding, I'm sorry, so
To allow for the pavement.
it says property lines, pavement rounding at street intersections. What is the actual waiver?
I think that's what it's, property lines at street intersections shall be rounded or cut back. So I guess it's property lines, not pavement, I guess. It's property lines.
Does that make sense?
Property lines, so that you can put the pavement, curb.
All right, so to waive the requirement to put the pavement in at a curved radius.
To not require rounding at the property.
Okay, all right, so I'll entertain a motion to not require the rounding at the property lines at both ends of Buckland Street, should it be constructed, contingent upon or subject to documentation proving that the applicant has the right to construct the roadway through the private properties on both ends.
So moved.
Seconded.
Is there any
Just
further?
one point of discussion, I
Yes.
just want to state that I think we're also, again, assuming that rounding has no impact on emergency access.
I think
I
emergency.
see the chief nodding his head yes, so
Yes,
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I think that is a different question, that's, yeah.
Either way, I wanted to make sure that the analysis for the emergency vehicles wasn't dependent on having that rounding.
Right, right. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So it is subject to you documenting prior to doing anything that you actually have the right to do the streets on those both ends? Okay. I will entertain, if you want to stick around, if we're able to come back.
I can stick
we'll
around,
keep going.
sure.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion to continue this public hearing to a later point in this hearing, and open the public hearing for Whisper Way as amendment to the special permit concept plan and the definitive subdivision plan.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yep. All right, are you folks ready? Yeah.
Do we just want to comment for the, no, they're leaving now.
What's that?
I don't know if those people were staying. I just want to make sure they understood that
We were gonna
the
talk about.
conversation's going to continue.
I hope that was clear.
You know, will you close that blind? I got it. I'm so bold.
Okay,
I can't.
there we go. We got Gary. Gary's got it.
Thank you.
Good for something.
Good for a lot of things, but man, you are tall. We have changes from the last time. Do we have changes that are new tonight?
Yeah, there were changes that were reviewed by Beta.
Are there changes that are new tonight? I'm asking.
Oh, from,
That we're passing out things. Are those new to us tonight? Is that new?
This is new, so this, I wanted to touch base with you before
Yes.
I pass it out. They did send it to me like today.
Okay.
So I didn't know if you wanted me to pass it out and so we can talk about it, or if you wanted to hold the Tuesday deadline.
So we are holding the Tuesday deadlines firm until such time that we are actually, it has to be firm. And I know that in this case, we don't have a lot of abutters that are focused on it, but it's impossible for me to actually react to the information in real time. I don't know how other people feel, but from a public access and impact position, there's no way the public can participate if we get things same day.
It's the driveway turning plans and
You are welcome to introduce it, okay, but we're gonna have to have an opportunity to
Yeah.
react to
I
it.
think that we would be comfortable if you guys are comfortable. What we're looking for hopefully is a vote tonight. I think they're fairly straightforward things for you to do contingency upon.
Okay, so what? Yes?
I realize that it might seem simple, but we get inundated with information on the day of the meeting.
I understand.
And all of us have day jobs. And so while it might seem simple for us to react to this, the submitting something the day of and expecting us to react to it and then vote, I personally, I think we've got to move away from that expectation.
I don't think that we have ever done that either, to be honest. So, and I for a lot of the right reasons. So go ahead and introduce it to us, but we do have to have an opportunity to have it reviewed. I don't even know if John has had a shot at it. So go ahead, yeah.
Two plans that are included in there are the turning radius plans for basically a delivery truck and a fire truck. Beta's comments was to show that the truck would be able to, standard 30-foot long box truck to be able to pull in, make a turn, be able to pull out.
Yep.
And then there's also one in there for the Hoffman Fire Department for their ladder or the tower truck, whichever one. We have the crankers
they can turn back in there.
Right, that they're able to pull in and make the movement, the maneuver to turn around and pull back out. So that's what's included in that. And there's also a budget for the stormwater operation and maintenance plan.
Okay.
Those are the two that are-
So, Madam Chair, if I may clarify, the rendering and the O&M cost thing are the things I received today. There's, I think, other plans. I believe those were received previously.
Yes, okay. So this rendering, does it represent a difference from your submitted plans?
I don't believe there's any changes to that rendering. The driveway's changed a little bit, but other than that, the overall concept is...
You're just showing your turn radius at the ends?
Yes, in the area where they'd pull down and be able to, you know, they'd pull in, they'd stop, make their delivery, and then turn around and back out from there.
Madam Chair, if I may, is
Yeah.
there any reason this couldn't have been done before the deadline so that we could actually review it with the packet? I mean, if it's so simple, it seems like this could have been done last week and we could have reviewed it with the rest of our materials. I'm sorry to make a point of it, I've got like 7 stacks of paper that are coming in for multiple hearings tonight, and like, at some point, we have to become more diligent in when we submit things, because it's just...
That's our requirement. We simply just didn't, of all of the things that we had to address, we didn't get to that turning radius. It was being worked on last week, and it didn't get completed until today, so that's why we didn't have it until today. So I certainly understand if that's...
Yeah, and like I said, I know we've bent the rules on this for a long time, and I'm not trying to be difficult just on this one, but...
No, we don't actually bend the rules. We do make people come back, but we do let people, what the fixed rules are, is that you can't even introduce it or talk about it if it hasn't met the deadline. That's the rule we've done, but we have to have it reviewed. And there isn't a reason that it couldn't have been in on time, it just isn't.
No, I agree.
Okay, all
I'm
right.
even comfortable if you don't want to talk about it, to be honest, those particular pieces of information. If we want to just go over the stuff that Beta has reviewed.
Yep, how about we do
So
that?
I'd rather do that, because at the end of the day, we're just gonna talk about it again at the next time, so
Right,
just
that's
for
true.
efficiency, let's talk about the things that have been reviewed, and this stuff will push off until it's submitted as part of the formal process. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. Okay,
Do I have a process question through the chair?
sure.
So, I was not able to make the last meeting that was on the 10th, but I did watch it
Yes.
today.
Yes.
But I do have a few questions. I know you guys went through all the waivers, but you're gonna go through them again?
We did not vote the waivers.
Right.
Yes, we
So
are
we're
definitely going to vote them.
Okay, so I'll have an opportunity to ask
Yes.
questions. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely. Okay, so did you want to start us off, or do you want to?
Well, if you want to go through the waivers again, I certainly can.
Did we vote the way, we did not vote the waivers, did we?
No, there was no vote. Went through them one by one, and
You asked for how people felt broadly. That's what it was?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. All right. Is there, I think I may be operating off an old list. How many waivers are there?
I have 9.
I think I have an old list in
yes,
front of me.
9 is correct. There were 8 that were on, there were 8 that we reviewed.
I have 10.
Is that correct?
You have 10?
So in your memo,
Yep,
the
I'm
waivers
looking
are listed
for it.
in the other
Yep.
section.
Oh, right.
You know which page it is?
The other
10. 10 of the
Thank
memo.
you. Perfect, thank you, John. This is my opportunity to say, for all the folks at home, all the folks here, and John's wife, when he watches it on tape, he's doing an excellent job. Seriously, John, excellent job, thank you. Go ahead, we can start with the,
Okay,
Yeah.
so, the, requests, the first one, at least on the list that we had submitted, was, cross a waiver to not include cross-sections of the street at 50-foot intervals.
And if I'm remembering it correctly, we did not, as a board, we did not have issues with that as long as Beta was satisfied?
Correct, and Beta had specifically asked for cross-sections at 50, at Station 50, Station 1 plus 0, 0, 1 plus 50, and 5 plus 60. And we did provide those, and I believe Beta was satisfied with those cross-sections.
Any questions on that one, Dave?
No.
All right. Do people want to just talk about these for the last time and vote them?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I will entertain a motion to grant the waiver from providing the cross-sections of each street at 50-foot intervals.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further conversation or comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The next one, the board actually wasn't sure that we needed to ask for this as a waiver, so it's kind of up to you whether or not you want to. We were asking for a waiver for the trees, to not show the trees that needed to be retained within the right-of-way, basically because there are no trees that are going to be retained within the right-of-way, which is why the board felt maybe we didn't need to ask for that waiver.
Do you feel better having it? I
Through the chair, I did have one question about it.
Yes.
Sorry. So, do you plan on having the trees within the 5 to 20 feet of the right-of-way, the street trees that are described in one of the other requirements? Because outside the right-of-way as well as...
Outside of the right-of-way?
Right.
Yeah,
So
we're not
tree-
asking,
so the
we're
tree-
not asking for that.
So
We're not
you'll have
asking
the-
for a waiver for that.
So you'll have the streets 5 to
Yeah,
20 feet from the road right-of-way, 12 feet apart?
yeah. Yep,
Okay.
they're actually shown on the
Okay,
right.
cool.
Yep.
Anybody else? So should we just vote the waiver because it's requested? We don't have a problem with it?
Yep.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the waiver for showing the trees that are to be retained within the right-of-way.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, go ahead.
Location of the proposed streetlights, we're requesting that the streetlights not be installed within the subdivision. Again, we had a significant discussion about this, and I think the overall feel was that we were not going to require the streetlights. Certainly, that's up for your vote tonight.
Any comments or questions?
So I do have mixed feelings on this, and I
I do
noticed that
too
you
now,
guys did
actually.
as well, because I'm a fan of having some soft lighting throughout the neighborhood. How, so street lights we've shot down, but street lamps in people's driveways, I think is a good idea, but we haven't required that of anybody else, so.
Can I ask the fire chief? I'm having second thoughts about it because I'm very often a fan of no street lighting or forced lighting. But I'm wondering about your feelings on it, just given the nature of the complex and lengthy driveways and so forth. Is it something that you would see as a safety feature to have the driveways at least lit?
So I guess my personal opinion would be any lighting always helps, but I don't know that I know it from a driven public safety like requirement. It isn't like listed in some of the CMR pieces that I usually reference when I'm talking to you about access and other areas. I did talk with the police a little bit about streetlights, and they were unaware of a requirement. But they do know that there's a standard of, in the more denser areas, you see it, urban areas definitely look for street lighting for safety. In Hopkinton, we noted, we checked some of the subdivisions, some of the intersections, they try to keep street lighting at, and it kind of depends on the flow and kind of a feel for it. But I don't know of a CMR or a regulation that drives it, especially for fire.
Okay. I will just say that from my perspective, I'm struggling a little bit with the design, although I love the piece of property and I love that there are going to be homes up there. Just it's, because of the complicated property. And I feel like if there's going to be lighting, we almost want to include it so that we can keep it from being
Going up to the sky, yeah.
Yeah, being overly excessive, but, so I'm actually having a little bit of a flip-flop on the lighting feeling.
Follow-up comment. So I do put my money where my mouth is, because I didn't have one when my house was built, but I dug the trench by hand, 100 feet, and had the electrician come in and wire it, so, I mean, I'm a really big fan, and the driveway lamps, I think I would support that.
Yeah.
I'm going back to street lighting. I think the homeowners themselves can deal with their trenching and their lights, and hopefully provide ones that are down lights and respectful. I'm not for full-blown street lights, but I just feel the direction that they're going in and the length of the driveways, that I think as far as just a pathway wayfinder, and for public safety, that it's not like there's no hard rule, but it's the changing slopes of this, site, which I still would love to see some 3D modeling, because I know it's possible.
But we're talking about lighting.
But we're talking about lighting, so that the street lighting could be located where there aren't excessive hills or excessive, and only in moderation, so that cars can navigate, and trucks and safety equipment can figure out where they're going to if someone's in need, so.
Through the chair, can I ask that for a clarification?
Yeah.
So, Deb, you said street lighting, but I think you mean driveway lighting, right? Because street lights are 20 feet telephone pole high, whereas driveway lighting are more like 8 feet, like.
I don't know, I don't think we've always approved major highway street lights. I'm talking about smaller bollard lights. I'm thinking about stuff that would be friendly to the dark sky community. Just something as a wayfinder, whether it's at the end of the driveway, on the street, different driveways. I just think humanistically, it's very important, whether it has their address numbers on it, or whether it, is at a periodic separation. That would be my vote. It would be for some kind of guidance for us to give them, and have them come back with, something.
Through the chair.
Hold on one second. Go ahead.
So I actually have a question to the chair for John.
Perfect.
Because the waiver that's requested, as I look at it here, it only says that they must identify the location of proposed streetlights. And I was just looking for what the language is that we actually ask for in our bylaws around streetlights, because at the end of the day, from my take, our job should be to enforce the bylaws that are in existence. And if there's a good reason to waive those, then so be it. But even if we're all sort of personally, we don't like streetlights, then the right solution is to go change the bylaw that addresses streetlights. So I don't know, John, if you know where there's something in the bylaws that provides more clarity on what we'd like, other than section 5.4.1.y.
One at a time.
Off the top of my head, I don't know where it provides more clarity. I have to look into it.
Okay.
Just gonna give me some input to John. to
Yeah.
help him.
Yep.
So I did look through the rules and regs of the subdivision and didn't find anything, but I didn't go back to the zoning. What is this, agricultural? The zoning?
It is.
So it might be something in there, I don't know. But just to Jerry's point, I couldn't find anything either.
Robert.
I think I might
This,
suggest,
Hold on one second, Amy.
just so I'm clear, this is something I don't get to vote on, this,
You don't get to vote on it, but you can weigh in and ask questions and make your opinion known.
so the vast majority of Hopkinton that has neighborhoods like this, there is no street lighting. Like, I don't know why we would try to enforce something that the vast majority of town doesn't have. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's a dead end. It's not like there's people that need to walk to business or where there's gonna be that type of environment. It's a dead end. Like, they would.
It is essentially in the bylaw, so we just have to confront it each time. That's why we
Okay.
deal with it, but I have a tendency to lean your way. Amy?
I guess, I was going to suggest that, so we're just supposed to require the location of the proposed streetlights. It doesn't say they have to be so many feet tall or how many feet apart. So I was going to suggest maybe we don't waive the location yet, but suggest that they do some lower level lighting just for wayfinding at each house.
That's what I had
That's-
asked
yeah.
the client, if he would be amenable to doing some sort of, like a more driveway, something you would see typically along a driveway, so that
You can
there's
find each house,
lighting
yeah.
available, but not, not necessarily street lights.
Right,
Yeah.
I would be
It could
comfortable
be very
with that.
I'd be
nice.
supportive of that as well.
yeah, me as well. So,
I think a motion related to that, right? Or if you might craft it, but something
It's actually,
like we would,
well, you can decide if that's street lighting or,
well, we agree that that's what we all seem to like, but I think we're not gonna waive the providing the streetlights within the subdivision, right? We're not gonna waive that.
I would feel, if I may, more comfortable
Yeah.
with waiving the street lights and putting some verbiage in there about driveway lighting.
that's what I was gonna suggest. Because if you don't waive that, it, I think, may come across as we're supposed to be providing street lighting.
Okay, so could we waive it, the location of the proposed streetlights with the condition that low lighted driveway lights would be provided
Yes.
instead?
And we need to see them, right? The planning board would have to.
They would show where they would be.
Yeah, show on the plan.
I wouldn't waive the word street, because I think once you start to put in driveway, then you're talking about the individual owner's preference. And I would say that the developer would have more control over the dead-end street at the start of the driveway. So I would be more in favor for low-level lighting off the street at the end of a driveway would be more instructive.
So,
I think that's what I meant, at the end of
Okay.
the driveways, right?
so how about you give us, I really liked the way you said it for wayfinding.
Right, so we would waive the requirement to provide streetlights within the subdivision on the condition that low-level wayfinding lights be provided at the end of every driveway?
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And at the entrance to the neighborhood?
And we'll provide a plan that shows
With
you
the
where
locations.
those are going to be located.
Okay,
I'd ask that they be dark sky compliant.
absolutely, you can
Yeah.
ask that.
So,
Definitely.
so just to clarify though, the waiver that's being requested is just that you're showing the location of the proposed streetlights on the plan. That's it. So,
It's from providing streetlights within the subdivision.
That's what I'm not, to be honest, based on your question, I'm not sure that your bylaws require street lighting. Your bylaw requires that we show you where the street lighting is going to be.
Okay,
I don't, I guess it's an interpretation, and it's up to you guys how.
Yeah.
you-
Location so of if-
proposed streetlights.
okay, so if we
That's all it is.
require the location of the proposed streetlights, I guess it's implicit that we are expecting streetlights.
Okay.
Friendly modification to the amendment,
Throw it out there.
not to exceed 10 feet in height.
I think it's premature.
But they're gonna bring it back to us,
They're
right?
gonna bring back the plan to us.
But I wouldn't think they needed to be
Yeah, 10
monstrous lights. I
10
mean,
feet is, I was thinking 5.
Lower, I'm okay with lower, I just don't want to see the big ones.
6.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, I just don't want to see the big ones.
But when the plan comes in, yes.
Indirect, yeah. Indirect.
Yep, I'm fine with that.
We'll know that.
All right, so Amy has made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, all right. Side slopes.
Side slopes on the 3-to-1 max. Again, this basically allows us to minimize the amount of clearing that we have to do in order to construct the road. Because there's a lot of steep areas here. Trying to catch up to the grading using 3-to-1, just it takes up a third more space than if we only do 2-to-1. So that's why we're asking. I think it's in keeping with the open space bylaw to minimize the area that we're clearing in order.
I'm amenable to that conversation too, but I see that Beta needed you to define the limits where this is necessary, and that has been done.
Correct.
Yes.
I just had a question. I don't know if you can answer this or not, but I'm curious if the original submission for the 24 units in the Loop Road, if that had more or less of an impact on the side slopes than the current plan.
I'm sure, and I don't know specifically, but I'm sure just by the sheer length of the road, that it would have applied to more areas than this does.
Okay, so fair to say that the impact in the current proposal is most likely less than it was?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to waive the requirement on the side slopes as requested.
So moved.
Second.
Is there further discussion?
Further discussion. If we're making the slope steeper on the side of the road in various areas, how many areas is it?
There's just one strip and it's about 100 feet long.
Does that make it less passable by someone walking on the street?
No, it's on the shoulder, off to the side. The one area that we're discussing is right up against where the existing Whisper Way is, that exceeds the slopes. The existing current slopes are greater than what the subdivision rules allow. So what we need to do is to flatten that out. I need to grade a little bit more, which pushes us closer to the town forest. So it's just that one section that is 2 to 1, which is less than, it's not a.
And we're making the overall road, so right now, it's already greater than 2 to 1, or it's already at least 2 to 1.
At least 2 to 1.
And it's, passable, we've all, everybody's been on a sidewalk, but we've all walked on the street, on the existing Whisper Way, and then we're gonna be, upgrading existing Whisper Way. So it'll be even safer than it already is.
Okay, so the 24-foot width of the drive will provide safety if someone needs to meet somebody at the end of the road?
Yeah, plus these slopes are outside of not only the pavement, but also outside of the sidewalk.
Okay, all right.
Any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay. Disturbance to the natural topography.
Again, we have, and this is primarily because of the way existing Whisper Way does not meet it exceeds the maximum slopes at the entrance. So trying to get the new road to meet the required slopes requires that we fill more than 8 feet to facilitate the crossing at the vernal pool wetland right at the beginning. So we're constructing 2 retaining walls.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
So,
Yes?
so if you're constructing retaining walls, are the retaining walls on the upside of the wetlands or the downside of the wetlands?
The upside, so the wetlands will be below the road.
And will these berms have weep holes and will water be coming through them from the road? And, are there any concerns of salt or different types of
There will not be any water coming from the road surface. That'll all be collected by the drainage that we've designed to treat the salt and other items. So, and the Conservation Commission has reviewed this plan thoroughly and I think is close to.
That was going to be my next
Approving it.
question. Yeah. When do you see the Conservation Commission? Tomorrow. Oh, big night.
One of the things I don't see here that would prevent granulars from coming through is I don't see any filter fabric. I don't see any landscape fabric. Is that wrong?
So a wall of this height has to be, first of all, needs a building permit. and needs to be designed by and stamped by a structural engineer. So we're showing it just for display purposes and how it affects the grading for the rest of the site.
Okay.
The wall itself can't be built based on just our plans. A structural engineer, that'll certainly be.
We'll add to the packet after,
Yes.
once this is given approval. Okay.
Anybody else? I'll entertain a motion to approve the waiver from disturbance to natural topography as requested.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, any further comments? I just, in a long list of waivers, it's really because of the wetland impact that you have to ask for this?
For that one, it's a combination of that and the existing the existing roadway.
The existing
The
road?
existing roadway was built according to the correct slopes that are in your bylaws. Then we would be happy to not bring in fill.
But it then means that you're doing less disturbance.
And yes.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody no? I'm a no. Anybody abstaining? Okay. I'm a no.
Oh, no, thank you.
All right, disturbance to natural topography. What?
So there's three there, disturbance and natural topography.
Oh, okay.
A, B, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. So this one is a waiver from the construction of roads, stormwater management systems, driveways, pipes, or other infrastructure construction on a land area which slopes at a grade of 25% or more.
So this is similar to not the last one, but the previous one where we were asking for the waiver for the side slopes from the road to minimize disturbance. This is specific to the detention basins. In order to minimize disturbance, we're also asking to construct those at a 2-to-1 slope instead of a 3-to-1 slope. And I believe the only comment that came back from Beto had to do, maybe it was just a discussion point, but similar to like to our septic system, we have to have a 3-to-1 slope, or we have to include a impervious barrier to make sure that the water in the septic system, or in this case in the detention pond, can't migrate through because there's less soil. So we're proposing to include the impervious barrier with this waiver.
Okay. Is that conditioned in there? I lose track.
I don't think it's included on the plans, so
Okay.
I guess in that fact it is.
So, can I ask a
Yep.
question?
Yep.
So, I'm looking at your plans, I'm looking at plan G9932, and it shows the wetlands, and it shows a hard line around the wetlands. Can you show me where the filter fabric is going to go at a 2-to-1 slope?
So it's not filter fabric, it's an impervious barrier.
Okay.
So
Oh,
filter
so
fabric
it's
allows
actually a
plastic.
plastic?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, where does that go?
Goes in the center of the berm, so you picture your berm being a trapezoid, and it goes right down the center.
Do you have a detail drawn of that? Can you point me to it?
It's on one of the detail sheets. It's on the detail sheet of possibly the first one.
First detail sheet.
The detail sheets would be at the end.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
On the bottom left-hand corner. There should be
I mean,
a,
Beta is looked at,
Yeah, I just, what I'd like to know is, I'm not a real fan of plastic, and I'm not a real fan of slopes that are in excess around wetlands. I'm just wondering, what is the effect of this plastic? How deep, that's why I was looking for the detail, but I can't seem to find it. How deep is this plastic?
It goes a foot into natural grade.
And again, the Conservation Commission is reviewing this, and their only concern really is the wetland protection, so.
And so where would the 2-to-1 slope be in reference to
It's definitely a minimum of 50 feet outside of the wetlands, because the detention basin itself is not allowed to be within 50 feet of the wetlands.
I still am waiting for a definition of where that fabric's going.
It's on sheet 10 is the detail of it, on the bottom left-hand corner of the earthen dike.
Can I look at yours?
Dan, it's up there. I don't know if you want to point it out.
Oh, sorry.
Can you just confirm?
Bottom left-hand corner.
Bottom left-hand corner is a detail of the berm, trapezoid there. And
So in
there's the plastic, essentially they build it, and then they excavate out a face of it, and then they lay this.
The line right down the center.
That's the
That's the
plastic.
plastic.
And then what is the hard outline that's making the trapezoid?
Loam seed.
Loam and seed. Okay. And the loam and seed is what you're requesting the variance, or the waiver, sorry.
No, the steepness of that slope.
Of the loam and, yeah, of the loam and seed. Yeah.
Sure.
I would say that I'm not comfortable with that. We've been through some really pretty horrible building experiences where we're in the middle of the spring and we're trying to get a stabilized site, and we have a lot of difficulty. I would want to maintain it. First, I want to get ComCon's impression of it before I said anything. So that's kind of my concern.
So you can condition it on their approval. We're not necessarily going to be able to require them to tell us how they feel about it.
Okay, I would make it on condition of their approval.
So they're,
Because of our, and then I would lean to other members to get their feelings as to how they feel with that slope.
So,
yes,
can I just confirm that Beta was comfortable
yes.
with this change?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. If Beta's comfortable with it, then I'm comfortable with it.
Okay, anybody else?
I would ditto what Gary said.
Okay.
Can
I am
I ask Phil a question? Just because he was
What's the
okay with
question?
it, and
Yeah,
because
you
we
can
did
ask Phil
have.
a question.
Yeah, Phil, can I ask you a question? So when this is just in relationship to Legacy, and we had, the mud washout, and can you tell me, was that anything to do with the slope ratio, and how during construction, and sort of this barrier that should have been impervious? Is there anything that would indicate here a similar situation?
So, the situation Legacy involves a lot of poor soils that are with high fine content and high dissolvable or soluble soils. In this case, they're building a berm out of what I would presume would be good gravel, and a suitable material to sustain a grade of 2 to 1. 2 to 1 is kind of the maximum you want to go with a natural. You could also require them to provide a matting on the slopes that would, stabilize, make sure there's no erosion. But the barrier itself, so they have a very, I've been going back and forth with Dan on this quite a bit, because you know, it is not an ideal situation to have, you know, you have that regulation for a reason. However, in this case, there's very little opportunity because of the wetland configurations, as Elizabeth mentioned, that they got to stay out of the 50-foot, you know, area, and they've got to provide a certain volume, and they've got to, and this is at the ideal location for a basin. So there are many factors that are kind of dictating this kind of design.
Okay.
So provided they construct it well and they seed it well, and put the barrier in, I don't see any problem.
Would matting be visually obtrusive? Would the seed come up through the matting? Is it that kind of matting?
Yeah. So erosion control matting, they probably even have it, I would imagine, in detail.
I'm not sure, and
Yeah.
again, certainly something that the Conservation Commission, whether or not we would probably end up using the matting one way or the other, because in order to get our certificate of compliance with the Conservation Commission, we're going to have to stabilize these slopes. If they're not stabilized, the Conservation Commission isn't going to grant us a certificate of compliance, and that's not.
Do you have any objection to specifically using the matting?
No.
So can I
You can.
move
Go.
to grant this waiver with the condition that erosion control fabric is used?
Yep. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any noes or any abstentions? This is B.
B.
Any opposed or any abstentions? Okay. Disturbance in natural topography, a waiver to provide side slopes at 2-to-1 when the maximum slope is 3-to-1.
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
believe this is just a repeat. It was
Yes.
just copied over, I guess, in the comment letter.
Okay.
8.2.6A was
Was what would,
4.
yeah,
It just had a different title.
That's why I said 9.
thank you.
Yeah, they're correct.
I appreciate your help. All right. Stormwater basin embankments.
So this is for a request to waive the requirement for the edge of the embankment being a minimum of 25 feet from houses, property lines, and roadway. We're well over 25 feet from a house, but we are not from the property line. I'm not sure that I actually understand why this is a requirement, because we have situations where property lines go through a basin. It's where the line is of ownership is somewhat irrelevant, but it's nonetheless a requirement. We met it to the greatest extent possible. Again, trying to get this basin in the area that makes the most sense from a functioning perspective for drainage, and also meeting all the setbacks to the wetlands. This is the one thing that we felt was the lesser of the evils to ask for a waiver from.
All right. Any questions from the board? Phil, can I ask you why it would be a requirement at the property line in particular?
So there may be several reasons. One is many places in small towns like this, you have requirements for septic systems, and there's going to be separation. You don't want to impact on a butter in terms of where you can put his septic system, but also just to, some towns have require detention basins be on separate lots, some towns, so it's, there may be, at the particular time that this was created, maybe there's a significant, reason for this. I don't know if many towns that are consistent with this kind of regulation. So, and just general guesses, I guess.
Thank you. I appreciate your general guesses. All right. Anybody have any questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion to approve the waiver for the stormwater basin embankments.
So moved.
Sorry.
Is that a second, Gary?
No,
Okay. Is there a second?
I'm sorry,
Oh,
point of discussion.
I need a second
Sorry.
first.
Second.
Okay, there we go. Discussion.
Sorry, we were just talking about spacing with regards to property lines,
Yeah.
which I think is the, sorry, okay. It was, all right, never mind. I'm good.
Okay, yep. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay. The requested waiver next is for the buffer areas. The applicant seeks a waiver from providing a 100-foot buffer at the perimeter of the site to separate and/or screen the development from abutting properties. The proposed subdivision includes a roadway within 100-foot buffer of the project site on the southeast corner in order to minimize impacts to slopes greater than 25% and to accommodate the Board of Health septic system regulations. Beta notes that the new concept plans has a spur that connects to a parcel on the southeast corner. Oh, wait, this is,
I was gonna say, this is,
the spur is no longer, right? Go ahead.
I don't know, I'm,
That was just taken from the last letter. It may just be
Yep.
a carryover.
Yep, go
something
ahead and
that wasn't
explain
included.
it.
I'm not sure what this is another waiver.
This is a waiver from zoning 210-113 C1 buffer areas. It's a 100-foot
Oh,
buffer.
yeah, so I'm not sure if that applies. Oh, okay. You're gonna need to explain, because I don't know.
The spur is to allow access to the backland.
Oh.
Can you show us on the, just the conceptual drawing here?
There's actually two areas that asking for reduced from 100 feet.
Yep.
This is one section that goes out to the backland to, there's 5 acres back here for any possible future use. And the other section is in this corner right here, where the existing Whisperway comes through and ends right here. There's a angle in the property line that creates a little short section right there. You remember the original subdivision, we actually came right along the edge of and touched the corner here. So this is, we're less than, or we're more than the 100 feet where we touched before, but now it's just a short section there. So there's that, and there's one area.
So what is the buffer accomplishing over here? Is that on the southeast corner? What is the buffer again?
We have, well, we're closer to 495 in this area here, and then, but nothing's going to be built in this area. We have, and then we have 100 foot here. We have 100 foot through all this area. It's just this one section.
So the main purpose of the 100-foot buffer is, I think, always been to, as a buffer to other developments for your open space. That's why it's required around the whole outside of it. In this particular case, there's only 495 and more open space around this town open space. So we're really creating, the 100-foot buffer is really a buffer to more open space. So I'm not sure that it needs to be there the same way that it typically would. We're adding to the existing open space that's owned by the town and extending it. We're just not extending it a full 100 feet in those two areas.
All right, let me ask this, does granting the buffer accommodate that spur in any way? I mean, do you need the buffer for?
Yeah, because yes, you can't. We wouldn't be able to have the spur there if the.
So everything in our bylaws, the letter and the spirit of it is to not use open space development plans, subdivision plans to necessarily open up other big pieces of property that aren't being contemplated at the same time. So I have an issue with that, because we don't know what we're contemplating behind it.
I would also say that what it does is that it loses the town's ability to access that area to expand the trail in any direction.
Easement over that spur. Pass and repass for.
It's the buffer, the remainder of the buffer around the subdivision is adjacent to town property. So I'm not sure that it really cuts anything off.
So can I just clarify, the only places that you're requesting a waiver from this buffer are either abutting town property or abutting 495 property?
The only place we're requesting
The waiver, for the 100-foot, the waiver from the 100-foot requirement?
yes, it would either be 495 or town forest.
So in no place does that request a waiver of the 100-foot buffer impact private property?
Well, no, because technically that's private property.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Below the little,
This property down here is not town property, that's private.
So the answer is yes, then?
Yes.
It does
I
impact
apologize,
private property?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I don't support it then.
It's owned by the applicant. I don't know if that makes a difference to you, or owned by the.
No, I mean, in that case, the applicant could put it all on the table to contemplate all at the same time, so we knew what we were talking about. For me,
I agree with you.
that's my position. Anybody else?
Can we just defer on that particular
We
waiver
can.
request?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we have 7 more minutes. There is a request for a waiver on the lot frontage depth. The applicant seeks a waiver from providing 60% of lot frontage at a frontage depth. Well, anyway, I'll let you explain it.
So typically on a open space subdivision, the idea is we reduce the setbacks to cluster everything close to the road.
Yeah.
To maximize your open space on the outside. It's just in this particular case, because of the steepness of the slopes out there, we're actually clustering the houses out away from the road. So it does, so the shape of the lot, obviously we need to have more space around where the house is rather than up by the road. So it, just the uniqueness of this property and we're still maintaining the concept of minimizing disturbance. We're just doing it in a slightly different way by moving it away. So it doesn't, the lot shape factor, this is the width that's up close by the road. Doesn't facilitate the way we're developing this open space.
And just to clarify, this is, John, I'm looking your way. This is something we're entitled to waive?
That's what I just thought of that. I'm looking into that.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just have a question for Phil, and I know we've asked you a couple times as to what the intent of these bylaws might be, but specific to this one on lot frontage depth, any thoughts on why we require a certain lot width deeper into the lot?
All right, so I think the intent is really to, as Elizabeth, is to have kind of uniform lots and have the opportunity to have disturb as less land as possible. So, however, in this case, they have a unique situation in that they have an existing road, and that they can only go 1,000 feet, and one side of the road is not buildable. They can't use the frontage on that side of the west side of the road because they don't own the land. So they have very little frontage. They can only be 1,000 feet, so they can only have, they got this fairly sizable piece of land, and so they're really restricted in terms of the amount of width, and that's, so if they get this waiver, then they can build what they want. Otherwise, they're gonna be, I don't know how many lots you can probably reduce to 6 or something, I don't know.
I understand it would be very impactful.
We're gonna go back to John. John has.
So just to answer, I think, the two questions. So lot frontage depth can be waived by the planning board. It's specifically mentioned. The whole point of lot frontage depth is to not have pork chop lots, flag lots. However, it is provided that the planning board can waive it as part of the open space thing, which means it's tacitly allowing pork chop lots and common driveways to achieve that type of development where it's clustered in one area. It might not meet the setback and other dimensional regulations as set forth in zoning bylaw, but in this district, it's a different type.
When they did ours, as we all know, Muriel famously lives on a pork chop lot.
You do?
I do. We had, our folks have to have our neighbors have to have an easement through their property so that we actually have the accepted frontage on North Street. Is that,
Everybody has the required frontage.
it's, okay.
It's just that
It's
once
the
you come
shapes of the lot.
once you come off of the road,
Yep.
some of them, for instance,
Yeah, see, for us, we're a straight shot off, so we have it the whole way.
this has the
Yeah.
required, and I'm not sure that this is a particular one, but this has the required frontage here. But when you come back to the front yard setback,
Yep.
it's typically where you would have the house in a traditional subdivision. You're much closer to the front yard setback. There's a required width
Yep.
of the lot.
Yep.
And you can see here, this necks down and then opens up where the house is.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll be candid with you, the reason that I'm struggling with this one a little bit, and everybody else can weigh in, is that it is a precedent-setting decision, I think. And we need to be sure that we love this kind of idea in open space developments. And I understand the property, I have trod upon it myself a couple of times, and I think that, personally, if I'm personally making the decision, I think I like the fact that they're gonna be really unique little lots all tucked away. I just want from my perspective, I want the board to consider how much we're gonna love this on any lot.
So just one of the things that Phil mentioned that I think is in particular unique about this property and not necessarily applicable to other open space subdivisions is the fact that we're dealing with an existing roadway
Yep.
that runs along and it actually currently runs on town property, not within the right of way. We're moving it out of town property and into the right of way. So, as he said, we're losing all of this frontage that we would not have typically, you're not going to come across another situation where you have an existing road that runs along the property line, is my point. So from a precedent setting standpoint, I think you have a little bit of leverage to say, this is a unique situation.
I'll let other people weigh in. Anybody else have thoughts or concerns? We do have to open the next public hearing in seconds.
Through the chair?
Yes.
Thank you. I believe that, as we've seen various iterations of this potential development, that the developer has done a good job in balancing the preservation of existing trees, the preservation of wetlands, particularly the not moving the existing road into wetland area, but using the existing road and right-of-way. And it is, and I don't believe this is precedent-setting because this is very specific to this property in terms of the limitations, but also what the developer and the planning board have managed to do in terms of preserving a lot of open space and natural features.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I don't get to vote on this issue, so, but in general, I think diminishing our current zoning bylaws in terms of land use in this regard's not what we want to do as a board. I would not be a fan of it. If I could vote, I would vote no.
Dave, do you have any thoughts?
Just a general question. Are there limitations on the length of the driveways that we have? Is that?
So, hold on one second.
Sure.
I just asked you that question, but I forgot to open the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing on the commercial photovoltaic solar facility at 0 Wood Street. It's a special permit and a stormwater management plan. And it will be continued to after the conclusion of this conversation.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, perfect. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So I just had a concern because about the length of the driveways, and I think you do as well in the whole layout. And for a safety point of view, I'll lead to that. But when we had the dual entrance, I felt more comfortable with emergency vehicles that if a tree fell across the road on one side, you can get to all the houses. My concern here is if a tree falls across this road, you're not going to be able to get to these 10 or 11 houses. So I guess I would look to the fire chief to get some feedback on that.
Can I suggest that I don't know if you believe that is the same issue as the frontage depth requirement?
Yeah, I was just saying it was a general concept.
Yeah, and I know you guys want to move on to the next hearing.
Well, my question was to the chair, sorry.
Yeah.
That, is there a limit on the driveways too? Is that another waiver that we have to pass? Because there's nothing really where I can make my point as far as waivers, as far as safety.
So I think that, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I think the answer is that the waiver on driveways is for common driveways, not for the length.
Okay.
So if you have a big parcel of land and you want to build your house in the back, then you can do that.
But we didn't have that as one of our 9, the common
It
driveways,
is,
right?
it's coming.
Oh, it's coming?
Oh,
Okay.
it's coming.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Must have been a late add-on.
So what did you want to
I don't think
propose?
there is a limit.
There is no limit on length. It's for the common to share driveways, right?
Yeah, it's not a waiver.
Oh,
it's a
you're right.
separate-
I'm sorry.
There's a separate
it's
special
easements.
permit.
Separate
Yeah,
special. Okay.
I appreciate the correction. Yeah.
I don't believe it's a separate special permit. I think
Right.
it's captured in the open space
Okay.
special permit.
Yeah, I was,
Because they're allowed in
it's not
open
a
space.
it's
to
not a
build.
waiver. You're right. Okay.
I would, if we're going to put off deciding a few other things. I would be in favor of letting this sit a little bit, and seeing how things kind of shake out. I really appreciate how hard and how difficult this site is, and I agree with Mary that the builder has gone above and beyond. And I also agree with David that there's some concerns with the driveway length due to its unusual setting. So, if we're going to be waiting a little bit on some of the other decisions, I'd be in favor of letting this one sit a little bit. Because I think that one of the problems with it is that the huge front area becomes unusable for the town. And then it becomes this very thin swath of land around it. And I have mixed feelings about that.
So I don't have an issue with us, passing over the buffer one, because that, quite honestly, is a pretty easy fix for us, depending on what we want to do. However, the lot frontage depth, if you're not willing to grant that waiver, that's a significant amount of work that we would like to accomplish between now and the next meeting, to try and reconfigure the lots so that we meet the lot frontage depth.
Yeah, Ron. Come forward, just so folks at home can hear, please.
So on the lot frontage issue, we have developed a plan that what allows us to do that, to conform with the shape. And when we do that, we have to go through wetlands with driveways. It kind of makes a mess of things. It moves things around, but it's definitely doable. But and in your regulations, they anticipate this may be waived by the planning board in order to achieve the purpose of this article, and which is preservation of the wetlands and anything that we can preserve. So I don't think that there's a. I think that they wrote this with something like this in mind, not something. It's not something that's out of bounds of why they wrote it this way. I mean, it's the exact fit for this situation. Again, we can do that. We can make those boxes, but it's just not as easy as just making a box. It slides everything around.
So does conforming to that lot frontage depth, does that impact the number of houses that you can build on this property?
No,
Does not.
we can still get the 10 lots or the whatever. We can still get the same number of lots. Well, it just makes it more difficult, and it doesn't. I don't think it's going to be visually. No one's going to know where the property lines are. It's wild terrain out there. It's not an exercise that I'm looking forward to doing, because it's just an exercise, and it's really not going to change anything other than add more burden, more conservation work, more wetlands filling, or altering.
Yeah, so I'm very torn, as I sort of laid out. For me personally, I think that it probably takes what could be a really lovely configuration and makes it a little bit less lovely as well. And, tucked away and intentional and those kinds of things. It's just, so the flip side of it, is that the lot is challenging because of wetlands and fixed, topography and fixed structural impediments, man-made impediments and so forth is really, I don't mean it to sound bad, but it's really not our problem necessarily to fix. It's the developer's problem to fit within. And I just, I do candidly worry that, I'm trying to figure, I'm trying to think for myself how I justify making a waiver in this case that doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna be asked to waive it on a lot of open space.
Again, I think in particular with this project, the fact that we're losing half of the road, that's a significant.
So you're not losing, the road is the road, you're not
we're
losing.
half of the frontage.
Yeah, but that's the property you bought, right? I get it.
I understand.
Yeah.
If I may though, that might impact the total length of the road,
No.
but,
No, it impacts, if we had twice as much frontage to work with, we would have twice as much play to move our
yes.
frontage and to move our width. We're losing not quite half, but close to half of the width that we have to play with. And I'm not saying that it's not our responsibility to figure out how to do it, I'm just saying that.
I know, and I'm not being flip.
This is unique to this situation. If this wasn't an existing road and we weren't trying to use the existing road, we wouldn't come, you would know. As an engineer, absolutely never do we bring a road along a property line for that very reason. You lose half of your frontage and half of your width. So it's unique. As far as a precedent is concerned, that's what I'm saying, that's the most significant piece to it here.
I understand, thank you. Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments, or does someone want to make a motion?
I was going to just say that I think I feel comfortable granting the waiver due to the uniqueness of the road, the existing road, and not disturbing as much wetlands. But anyway, I would make a motion to approve the waiver.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Is there further discussion on the waiver? So all those in favor of the waiver signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, no?
No.
No.
So that's a tough one. When is the next time we have space?
Looks like August 12th.
Okay, so this is a good time to introduce quickly, and we'll talk about it at length towards the end of the meeting, but we are going to try this system where we continue public hearings to the date, similar to what the Board of Appeals does in town and what the Concom does in town, and not set a time so that we have a more fluid ability to work with the agenda. So the meeting starts at 7:30, so it would be posted to August 12th at 7:30.
So you'll still be posting a time in the future?
Not a specific time,
We'll
no.
be posting an agenda
Yeah.
that you'll
Yes.
know where you are in the agenda.
Yes, thank you. But for the purposes of the public hearing, it's 7:30. And, okay. And do we have to post out, do we have to include decision dates, Kobe?
Just for the definitive.
So, and then that would make the definitive subdivision decision for the 19th of August. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And the 19th is acceptable to the applicant for the decision?
Before we close the hearing, can I make a comment?
We just continued it, actually.
Oh, we just continued, okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Wait till next
So
time.
we're gonna, if anybody wants to take a 5-minute bio break, this would be the moment. You know, could there be air conditioning in this place?
So, on that note,
Yes.
Norman has said that we may have to move the planning board meetings to the library. because Bill's Pizza has been complaining about people parking in the parking lot for these meetings.
Okay,
So the library has air conditioning.
nice. Actually, it's freaking cold over there, as I recall.
Agreement to park in the Bill's Pizza lot?
Not anymore,
For town purposes?
not anymore.
It's a good thing that, item got approved at the town meeting, not for the additional parking over here and across the street, right?
We'll see, we'll see. So, but we just said for town hall, right?
Did we say it was at town hall?
No, we didn't. We
I don't
didn't,
think so,
but don't
okay.
we have to do that?
In the agenda, we can do that.
We can set a time.
And we really shouldn't be saying where at the meeting, because
We don't even know yet.
if it's not scheduled and we can't get the room, then that would be a problem.
Okay. We always have the room, but okay.
And we may not even
Yeah,
want
no, we'll figure, as long as it's legal, I'm happy. How about
We may not
that?
even want to say at the meeting what time it starts, because if something comes up, it started at 7 o'clock instead of 7:30, we're kind of bound by the 7:30.
So I'm gonna push back hard. People have to know when they have to
It'll be
arrive.
there in the agenda.
Nope.
Okay.
Yep.
So
When
what's
we
today,
announce
the
it, it's
8th?
hard enough to follow. I don't know, you must have done this as somebody watching from home, different
I always
things.
look at the agenda right before the meeting, always.
So for the 19th, we might have air conditioning?
For the, yeah, or the
Yeah,
12th?
He just told me this at the end of the day today.
Isn't that the
so-
12th? Is the 12th is the meeting, 19th is the decision.
Right, yeah, the 12th is the meeting.
Wait, what meeting is the 12th?
Our meeting in August is the
And-
12th.
Oh, August, I was talking about July.
I don't know when he wants us to move it, so
Okay,
it may even be the 22nd that we move it.
okay,
It
all right.
was just kind of an offhand comment.
That Bill's Pizza, I'm gonna go over and have a conversation.
Oh, okay, so for the
All right.
22nd, we probably will have to be here.
For the, LNG transfer.
Yeah.
Just connect these two. That's the original plan of the road.
Yeah, they want this. Okay, what is this? I don't have a folder yet for this.
So we can keep track of what things are there.
Yeah, beautiful out there, huh?
With the high ceilings, hot air would rise and it's just
Wouldn't
nice and
that,
cool down.
seriously, that's just too much, the hot air is just overcoming them.
But it's funny how the number of people in the room,
Yeah.
I guess it gets crowded, it makes you appreciate how
huge
much
difference.
heat it adds.
Oh, yeah.
to the full room.
All right, so we're just going to wait 2 more minutes for Deb. Process-wise, we need to give them at least a little bit of time to get going here. So we're going to go into probably 9:15.
Clarify that one, start with. So everybody knows.
So I think Deb can catch up. We'll go ahead and get started. Yeah. And we have to do this. So we're gonna compress what starts at 9 for us, so we're gonna give you a half hour to introduce the project and get started. Just process-wise, we have an outline that we customarily use. And so, starting fresh with a new hearing, it's an introduction and review by the applicant, then staff and consultant reviews, and then we usually take some time from the planning board perspective and also the members of the public who are interested here to add to the agenda or the outline if there's any areas that they want to add. So if you would like to get us started by introducing yourselves and the project, that would be great.
Sure. Well, thank you for having us this evening. My name is Matt Swansford. I work for Borrego Solar. I am the project developer for the solar project that we are proposing this evening. This is Brandon Smith. He's our civil engineer, and he is the smart one at the table that will walk us through the plans and the project in more detail. We appreciate John, the town planner, facilitating a peer review that has actually already been completed, and we appreciate that the peer reviewer, Beta, has actually already turned a peer review report around to us. in such a short amount of time. We received the peer review last week, just before the holiday. So candidly, we haven't had an opportunity to really dig into it, to revise our plans, or to comment on what is in this report. So this evening, we're looking for the opportunity to give you a high-level summary of the project and to answer any questions that the board might have, as well as the public. And I'll let Brandon take it away from here.
All right. Just so you know, I'm not looking past you, I'm looking at whatever you're speaking to behind you.
Okay, great. I'll start with going over a high-level overview of the proposed solar plan. So you may be familiar with other solar facilities.
Very familiar with other solar facilities.
So this project is proposed on a parcel that's currently being used for a variety of purposes. Greenhouses up north, some sand and gravel operations in the west. So our proposed array is effectively split up into 3 separate arrays. The north covers that greenhouse area, the west that covers that sand and gravel operation, and then the east, which is mostly wooded, some open areas, but primarily dominated by wooded areas. There's also a cell tower on the site that we're kind of up adjacent to, located here, so we're working with that. Generally, these solar facilities are solar modules mounted on galvanized steel racking that's anchored into the soil using screw foundations, so very little earth disturbance, no concrete foundations or anything required for the module racking. That's all connected back down to, for this project, there's 2 electrical equipment pads. There's transformers, inverters located at these 2. There's one for the south here, and then there's this larger one kind of in the west, which actually also houses our energy storage equipment, batteries. That in turn is then connected to the interconnection point, which is at Wood Street, down to the south here. Just to kind of locate you, the Wood Street is to the south, 495 to the east, and then
That was rude of the planning board chairman. Sorry.
Whitehall Brook runs to the west. We have submitted, so there will be some tree clearing required for this section. Would like to point out that these areas that are disturbed, we are proposing soil restoration in those areas because we are,
So close to the brook.
some compacted and sandy soils. Our access to the facility, so this red line here represents the perimeter fence, the 7-foot high galvanized chain link fence. We do have a vehicle gate to access inside these, adjacent to these equipment areas for maintenance, and potential replacement equipment. The access is actually via an existing road on Mechanic Street off of Wood Street. So there's no work being done on the access road here. It's in good shape. It's gravel, hard packed, sand in places. Really no work. The main work for access is we do need to install a turnaround here to allow emergency vehicles, maintenance vehicles to be able to get into the equipment area and turn around and leave the site. Our interconnection is via underground as much as possible. We are proposing underground up until there is a water line easement here. We're actually going to be working with the owner of that easement. We propose to trench through that, but there are many issues. We may need to go overhead for that, but we are going to be underground everywhere else.
What may have to go overhead, the utilities?
The utilities, the interconnection, the electrical line, just from that, because of that water easement. At the interconnection, we are everything's trenched or pad mounted up to the, let me go up here, show the interconnection area. And this one is Wood Street here, is Mechanic Street. Our interconnection is down here. There's an existing garage. They were basically utilizing some of that parking space to mount pad-mounted equipment. You know, again, we were making every effort to keep everything pad-mounted underground. So this is all the utility equipment, meters, transformers, and there will be some proposed poles for the equipment that we cannot pad-mount, and that will then drop to the point of connection to the grid. So that's a high-level overview of the project at this point.
Okay, thank you. John?
So, reviewing this application, the array appears to meet the requirements of the bylaw in terms of dimension setbacks and whatnot. The array is located on previously disturbed land. However, there is some clearing that's still needed, so we would recommend minimizing that as much as possible. And we have not received, it is not required, but it would be beneficial to have this provided, anticipated views from Wood Street or Mechanic Street, either renderings, existing photographs, that type of thing, to see how the array would look from the street and from neighbors' properties to the extent practicable. And one other thing to note is that this is Chapter 61 land. I don't know the ownership status at this point. Are you guys purchasing it? Are you preparing to lease it?
We're going to be leasing just the leased premises inside the perimeter fence that we're showing.
So, since you bring that up, I have a direct question that I think the lawyers need to answer, because Chapter 61A land is protected and enjoys a lower tax rate for specific reasons, and I don't know that any of that is meant to cover commercial solar photovoltaic installations. And so typically the town would have a right of first refusal if it was being sold. It just is a complicated question I want a specific answer to.
Yep, and I'll talk to town council about that.
Yep.
However, just to continue on this comment, the select board has heard from Borrego and discussed it at their meetings. And they did express an interest in purchasing the property should the situation arise. And they stated that the land is uphill from town wells and abuts the town's Fruit Street property. However, if the land is developed as a solar array, the impact of the well fields and Fruit Street land may be limited compared to other types of development, so that should be taken into consideration. And then,
Yeah, so I appreciate that. I read that, but I don't know that they didn't. I don't know that they asked that direct question about whether or not Chapter 61A
As far as I know,
property
they did not.
protection can stay in place.
as far as I know.
And then I don't know what it means as far as the town being able to assert their rights if the use is changing. Because what happens, for anybody who doesn't know, if the town does not exercise its rights to buy the property, the town does enjoy the benefits of those tax dollars coming back into the town to utilize. It's just an interesting question.
Chair, I read something online,
Mhm.
take it for what it's worth, but I think there's something like you have to go back 5 years and pay the difference in the tax rate.
There's
plus
definitely a
interest, plus
formula.
interest, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Typically, when we develop projects on land that is in a 61A tax program, when we lease a certain portion of that property, that portion of the property is taken out of the 61A tax status, and then the rollback on taxes is paid to the town. So as a project, or as the developer of the project, that's what we would be looking to do.
So my question is this, is that seems to circumvent the town's ability to purchase it. And I just want to know how that all plays legally from our legal team. Okay. John, go ahead. I'm sorry. Did you have?
The only final thing was that the Open Space Committee also reviewed this and also came to the same conclusion as the select board that should it become available, the town would want to purchase it.
Yeah, so it's an interesting, it's just a really interesting question if it is necessarily an attractive piece of property that the town would want to buy. This sort of loses that leverage if it comes out of the 61A rights. I have a question on the frontage requirement that is top level on Wood Street. It doesn't have the appropriate frontage on Wood Street, but it's a private way. So what is the implication? I mean, for me, I do not know the answer, but I would think that's a zoning board of appeals question, but I don't know.
It can be. A way in existence is a way. It's a private way. They can have frontage on a private way. But
Do you know what the frontage requirement is for a solar facility?
It's in agricultural zoning. It's what, is it 100 feet?
I don't know off the top of my head.
It's on the plans here. I believe it's 200 feet.
It's 200 feet.
Yes, it's 200 feet. It's listed on plan, sheet C 3.1.
Thank you.
So somewhere in the materials, it was highlighted that it doesn't have the appropriate frontage on Wood Street, and that was somehow a problem. It's not a problem?
It has the appropriate frontage on
Mechanic
Street.
Right.
I will double check that to make sure.
I may have misread the materials. I thought that was a difficulty to overcome.
It was in the memo, or it was in?
It was in the.
Somewhere.
It was somewhere. Asking me exactly where
I read the same thing.
Okay.
Okay, that's where it was.
Okay.
That's something I can look into.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out for sure, but that's part of the Beta's review that you have not seen yet. Okay. So John, is that it for you?
Yes.
Okay. So Phil, I'm gonna ask our engineer to come up and give us his top level.
So, just by way of introduction, Steve Borgatti.
Hi, Steve.
Works for Beta. He also has done a number of solar facilities himself.
Okay.
So he did the primary review of this, and I'd like to keep him off of the kind of the general comments.
Perfect. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to try to, there's a number of comments on this project. I'll try to stick to the main ones just in the interest of time. And if there's any questions on specific items, I'd be happy to answer them or add more detail. The first comment is related to the equipment area proposed at 5 Mechanic Street. That's that storage area that's in that former garage right by Wood Street.
Yeah.
The regulations require that any portion of the array have sufficient visual buffer. I think it's something like 75-foot minimum, though it might be able to be waived by the board. But that equipment specifically will be pretty readily visible from anywhere around Wood Street, just based on what I've seen, what the existing tree cover is. They might not need to provide, a 50-foot tree buffer, but maybe something there based on the board's opinion.
Okay.
The second comment is related to Article 31, the solar installation bylaw, subsection H, which stipulates that the applicant try to minimize the amount of vegetative clearing to the extent possible. Now, obviously you need to do clearing for the array, but the applicant is proposing clearing in buffer zones and close to resource areas, which you want to minimize to the extent possible. There's a question of if all of the clearing that they're doing is necessary, and typically with these projects we include a shading analysis to show that any area they're clearing is having an actual impact on the array's ability to generate power. The next comment is from the stormwater management permit, SW4. The applicant is proposing to regrade the site. Any steep slopes are going to be regraded to a slope of 20% or less, but there's no actual proposed contours on the plans, and it's based on the amount of steep slopes. It's anticipated that there'll be a pretty significant amount of regrading, which can have an impact on erosion control and stormwater runoff and all that stuff. So we'd like to see a more detailed depiction of what they're actually proposing to put in this array. Next comment is SW6. The applicant needs to provide a watershed plan showing pre- and post-development drainage areas. Essentially, their analysis treats the project as one single catchment area, but there actually should be runoff going to the east and to the west and to the south and possibly to the north. So we'd like to see a breakdown of those different areas and how the grading and different cover types are going to affect them. The next one is comment SW9. The hydrologic calculations they provided are really just the first step in a stormwater management report, especially for a project of this size. There's a number of requirements in the stormwater management bylaw, but in general, we'd like to see time of concentration, peak discharge rates, runoff volumes, different cover types, really how the project's actually going to affect the area rather than just a comparison of different areas. We'd also like to see that applied to the different catchment areas rather than the project as a whole. The next comment is SW34 relating to TSS removal. For a project like this, there's usually not too many sediment loads since there's not really any impervious areas proposed except for the access road. There's some concern that any runoff from the access road might carry sediment, especially into the resource areas in Whitehall Brook nearby. So we'd like to see some kind of mitigation measure, such as a swale alongside the road, a berm, something like that to keep any sediment from tracking into those resource areas. The next few comments is SW35, SW39. It's related to erosion control. In general, the erosion control plan is proposing mulch tubes in certain areas around the perimeter of the array, but it might not be sufficient, especially for a project of this size, to actually control the amount of sedimentation you'd expect. So we'd like to see possibly a draft stormwater pollution prevention plan, some more erosion controls, maybe a construction sequencing plan, just to make sure that, especially given the past use as a gravel pit, there's not going to be too much erosion into those resource areas. And then finally, it's mentioned in the narrative, we didn't have a copy of the notice of intent, which I believe has since been submitted to the town, so that wasn't included in our review. So the applicant is proposing impacts to buffer zones. It seems to be outside of resource areas, but we definitely need to make sure that those, I suppose the Concom will touch on it, but those areas are being managed. Besides that, that's the limits of, if there's any questions on what I've said or anything else I have.
No, I appreciate that a lot. And typically what we would see, the sooner you get comments back to Beta, they are very good about getting responses back. And so to maximize your efficiency at your next hearing is to facilitate getting the information to them in response, so you get that back and forth. Will you speak to the zoning? Was it in your review?
Yes, well, the general comment was frontage needs to be off, from what I understand of the zoning bylaw, frontage needs to be at least 200 feet off of a road with a right-of-way. Part of the problem is Mechanic Street, at least based on the GIS maps that the town has, doesn't actually have a right-of-way. It seems to be included in actually one of the lots they're proposing. So it really comes down to the town, I suppose, whether that's really a problem, if the frontage is really an issue in the zoning board. But that's the main gist of the problem. There's no frontage on Wood Street, and Mechanic Street doesn't have a right-of-way, so it's unclear if it actually counts towards fulfilling that frontage requirement.
Okay, I appreciate you bringing that point up. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll see you again. I would recommend that you speak to the zoning enforcement officer on that issue, at least get the basics of your information and your argument in place. And, if he's satisfied, if it's simple and he's satisfied, it's likely we're satisfied as well. But, okay, all right. Thank you, guys. All right, so we have just a few minutes. This would be the time for, I'm going to use this time for the public to come forward. with any comments in particular to add to the detail of what we will discuss, to make sure that we speak about whatever might be most concerning or most apropos to you. So if there are members of the public who came tonight to speak in particular to help shape the agenda, please feel free to come forward. You might lose some. Yeah. Hi, Chief.
Good evening. Just a point of interest to the presentation is he mentioned a storage facility, and I don't know that I've faced that in what we've done in our other projects so far that I've reviewed for you. So it kind of, I'd just like to get the information a little bit deeper in that. It didn't jump out at me in the plans that I saw so far, and the uniqueness of that, of this being a commercial property, but we kind of had some leeway just because it's been the solar arrays. But if you start putting storage facilities, and it really falls under what 527 CMR covers in facilities and access roads and water supply and fire protection systems. So I'm just kind of curious, it's jumping the gun a little bit until I see what's there, but it seems that that's a little different than what I've seen in the other projects. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? You might as well just let Mr. Larder, how are you?
First of all,
just introduce yourself and your address.
230 Wood Street. Yeah. I also own half of Mechanic Street, and I found out about this in my mail when I got home from vacation today. So the left half of the road I own. Where they're planning this structure may fall within the Woodville Historic District Commission. It's going to be like right on the line, so it would have to go through them too.
So I will put that on the outline, yeah.
So there's a line for historic structures, we can just change it to historic.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. The other issue certainly plays. It's not an issue that we necessarily get to decide. So that is going to be something that, the applicant and neighbors need to figure out together.
So can I just request that the packet be sent to the Woodville Historic District Chair, just so they can review it?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Anything else you want to add to the agenda?
No, I originally came because I was concerned about wetlands. Now I know I'm going to have a building outside of my kitchen window.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. Anybody else? All right, when is our next time to hear this?
August 12th.
So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up at this point. And then we'll start with planning board members adding to the agenda when we reconvene. So I will entertain a motion to continue this public hearing to August 22nd.
Before we do that, should we schedule a site walk?
Oh, yes, thank you. I had that on my list and went right by it. Thank you.
Good catch.
Yes, so we do like to do a site walk. And for the members of the public, all members of the public that are interested in this, the site walk is not, we do post it because very often we have a majority of the planning board members there. It's not part of the hearing process. We don't take testimony. We don't take ask or answer detailed questions, but certainly getting a walkabout and to see exactly what it is we're contemplating and exactly where other structures are and how it might impact and play is very valuable. So we very often do them on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock. Is that, what's a Saturday that works for people? Ugh, summer. This is when we get out our calendars, yes?
Or 8 o'clock.
20th works.
I don't mind 8 o'clock either. The 20th. I am available on the 20th.
Show of hands, I'm available.
I'll go out myself.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
Are you available if we go earlier?
Okay.
I'm not sure. I
Okay.
gotta check.
Earlier is not great. for
Okay,
me.
are you available on the 20th?
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll stick with 9, and then maybe you'll let us know, or you'll
Yeah.
try and drop out there with Deb? Okay, all right. So can we schedule a site walk for July 20th at 9 o'clock? And where should we plan to park and meet?
If you follow the private way down to the project area, right in the beginning of the gravel pit, we can all meet up there. So like, yeah, you can work.
Right where the trees.
Yeah, where it opens up.
All right,
Where it
so
opens up into the gravel.
we'll start at 9, and you folks will be standing there with big broad smiles, so we'll know where we're going, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, we said 9.
9, yeah. How long do you think we need for the walk? It's a big area. What do you think?
Special permit is good.
No,
No more than an hour?
definitely no more than an hour.
Okay, so we'll plan on having an hour available. Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very
Oh,
much.
and then we should entertain the motion to continue.
Madam Chair, before you do that, the stormwater management permit needs a decision by August 5th, so we would need to request a continuation for that.
So, yes, the decision on the stormwater management permit, we would need the applicant's agreement that we can have an extended deadline on that to at least the 19th, August 19th.
That's fine.
All right.
I
So,
just want to note, I looked
Yeah.
at the Woodville Historic District map, and the whole Wood Street in that area on both sides is in the Historic District. So if things can be seen from the street, it seems like they would be under there.
It will be, it will be.
We'll definitely take a look at that overlay. and
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
just
bringing
ask
that
a
up.
real quick question.
You can.
So you had mentioned, so just an FYI, we try to not to have new utility poles, we try to keep it like net zero, but you mentioned that you might be able to go under a water pipe.
Yeah, there's a water easement that runs basically along the southern or southeastern border there and kind of west. So in that area, we're going to
So
try
you
and
need to
work.
do some more research, is it like
Yeah, and
50% chance that you may be able to go under it, or just roughly?
Not sure what the
Okay, so
percentage.
you'll
I
get
gotta
back to us.
talk with the easement owner and see if they might balk at that, and make us go over.
I just wanted to let you know that the overground, utilities is,
I think we've got a
if we can get away with them.
Definitely.
What's that?
We've got that on the agenda.
Yeah, but they're fairly warned that it's a big deal.
Right. Just a verbal heads up. but
I
better
would,
thinking.
I would actually like to ask for the planning board's support to get the chairman, if he is interested and willing, the chair of the board, the select board, oh, I'm having a hard time with all these new terms, the select board chair and myself and John and Norman to speak with the town attorney and understand the 61A implications
I'm good with that.
more completely. Okay. All right, so if we can try and set something up, John, on a Tuesday afternoon, when you guys are already here, is, later in the day. I know Brendan is typically available after 4 best, and I am best available after 4:30, just if we could aim for the evening.
Sorry, one more.
Say it again?
I'll check with town council.
That'd be great.
More quick question about 61A, perhaps you know the answer. So is it any property over 10 acres?
No, no. Chapter 61A is a specific protection that.
Better tax rate, right?
Yes.
So people apply for it?
Yes, so it's very often a large attractive property that is wooded. For some reason, it's an attractive piece of property. Or it's a farm or an orchard, and it is to empower the landowner to keep it in its natural state, utilizing it as a farmer,
Just
keep it
surprised we didn't
treed.
get this with any of the other solar farms, big acreage.
Yeah, just in that,
Thanks.
maybe.
We should keep moving.
Thanks,
We have
Ted.
a lot to do.
Yep, no, you're right. Okay, so we're gonna get more information on that for sure. Thank you very much. So, the motion is for the 22nd with the decision to be the 29th on the, what's the decision?
19th.
The stormwater management permit decision?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Hang on.
Yep.
The meeting's August 12th, not the 22nd. You had said the 22nd.
Oh, thank you. August 12th. I knew it didn't
And the
sound
decision's the
right.
19th.
And the decision is the 19th.
And it's 7:30.
Making the promise of.
At 7:30. Say it again?
Is that keeping the promise of one meeting?
Is that one meeting in August? Anyway.
I
All
have a
those.
motion, is there a second?
Second?
Second.
All those in favor
For the 12th.
for the 12th?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I'll check. All right, so we have, thank you very much. All right.
Just so I am clear, we're continuing to the 12th, not the 23rd.
12th,
22nd.
yes, I'm sorry
22nd.
for the confusion, that's all me. It's the
12th of
12th.
August.
Good catch. And the decision is for the 19th, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, August 12th.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
might need a nap or something, I don't know. Oof, wow. Okay, so next on our agenda is the administrative piece, and I say we go straight to the Growth Study Committee interviews. Can I ask, because I don't know everybody that applied, are people here for the interviews? I know one person is. Are people here for the Growth Study Committee interviews? Well, Fran, come on down.
Who's this guy?
It's good to see your face.
See everybody, board members?
And, thank you for applying. So, process perspective, we have two members of the planning board who have put statements of interest forward. We know that our two appointees from the chamber are Finn Perry and Chuck Joseph. And we have 3 at-large statements of interest. Okay. And Fran is one of them. So thank you for coming, and tell us just a tiny bit about yourself and why you'd like to be on the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Francis DeYoung, 3 Doyle Lane. I am interested in serving on this committee to be able to help support the planning board in the broader efforts, putting together a plan of action, looking and assessing past growth, and identifying opportunities for future growth. I think my background serving on the planning board as well as on ZAC gives me, I think, a unique perspective to be able to work with other boards and to be able to contribute back to the community and back to this board as well.
So just as in full disclosure, I heavily recruited Fran, so I'm a yes. But I don't know how other people feel.
I would have done it anyway, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to be able to serve.
No gifts were exchanged. No money.
None at all.
But does anybody have any questions or comments?
I mean, Fran would do a great job.
Yep.
So, sorry, just from a process perspective.
Yep.
So we have
2 people we don't see.
2 people that we all see. We have 3 at-large positions.
Yes, we do.
And we have 3 applicants for the at-large positions.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I am really interested in having Fran, so I'd entertain a motion to appoint Fran to the committee.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
I think it's going to be great work, to be honest with you.
I'm excited. I think there's a lot of good work to be done and a lot of good work to be able
Finn
to
and
share
Chuck
back.
are amazing resources, and I think that they're going to bring a lot, so.
I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Do you have a preference on meeting nights since you're here? And
I'm very flexible. If I'm in town, I'm here. If I'm on the road, I can dial in.
Okay, because that's one of the things we're going to kind of think about.
Pretty good.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, everybody.
I really appreciate that you jumped on. So, process point, do we know if that we communicated clearly that there were going to be interviews tonight?
We put in the advertisement that interviews were going to be at this meeting, and we strongly recommended that
people come. Yeah, okay.
But didn't we get the few other members at large, didn't we get them kind of late?
Just today.
We just got them.
Yeah, so we got 1 Friday night and 1 yesterday.
Yes, maybe give them another opportunity and another meeting. Can we do that?
So, was there any acknowledgement or any, in their submission? I mean, I think you forwarded the emails themselves, but, I guess I'm just a little concerned that there wasn't even an effort to say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make the meeting on Monday. I agree with Deb. I'd be more comfortable deferring until they actually can come to a planning board meeting myself. I wouldn't. I'm not-
I'm happy to invite him to come to the next meeting to
Okay.
interview, absolutely.
It does just delay when we can start our work.
It does, although we could potentially invite the members that we know are part of it just to begin meeting, and that would be a piece of information that applicants could react to, whether they were going to be able to support that meeting day and time. I don't know.
And I guess it's no different than having, open position,
Openings on it.
open.
Yeah.
It's just, we need to have at least a quorum appointed so that they could have a meeting.
Which we do already, right? Well, if we appoint you and I, if we are appointed successfully.
I think that's the right course of action, just.
'Cause then we have two, I'm sorry, Andrew.
No, that's just proceeding, but not appointing until there's some conversation, it just seems to, that just makes sense.
Okay, that sounds good.
Do we need to vote Amy and I?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay.
So
Any
do we need to vote
discussion?
together, or do we need to vote separately?
I think you can vote together, to be honest with you, and a
Okay.
reminder that there's two alternate seats too, right? Didn't we establish it so that there'd be two alternate seats specifically for interested planning board members if they wanted to jump on, or did we define it?
I'm not sure if we defined it.
I don't know if we
I don't
did.
think we defined it as
We did not define it, it's just alternate seats.
They could be
So,
planning board members.
okay, so they could be planning board members, or they could be members at large. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
John's.
Oh, no, unless, you can vote, sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Yes,
So just to clarify, in fairness' sake, since the two applicants were past the deadline, should we?
no, didn't we have it? What was the deadline?
Friday at 5.
Friday at 5. I had it in my head that it was today at 5. Okay.
Should we continue to accept applicants if they were to come in?
Yes.
I think so,
I don't think
yes.
that there's another way to do that. Thank you for pointing that out. I didn't really realize that. I missed that detail. So yes, so when would we continue to accept, we should post that we're continuing to accept
Make
applicants.
a motion to continue it to the next meeting, right? The deadline?
So the issue is, I guess, if we post a position, it probably has to be in the newspaper or in the advertisement for 10 days like the previous one.
Right. I think you're right. So that would be the first meeting in August would be the soonest we could do it?
The 12th.
12th. I think that's, I mean, from a process perspective, it's the only way to do it. So we're going to post
sorry,
that.
It's 14 days away that our next meeting is, right? So
Just
why
getting
wouldn't we
it
do
out
it?
might not, so it would be.
It's also 10 business days.
Okay.
And it would be getting the applications by that day, which would not give us a lot of process, and getting the actual notice out.
But I'm in favor of getting the notice out and having it, a fixed 10 days out, and having whatever date that is, that you post it 10 business days out and have that be the deadline, and then we have the applications in before the 12th. Does that sound?
Or the Friday before the meeting, right? It wouldn't have to be exactly 10 days.
Well, how about the Tuesday before the meeting? Seems we have
Okay.
plenty of time, and we usually do Tuesdays. I'm fine with that. Tuesday before so the typical deadline for our meetings. Okay, awesome.
So on that topic.
Yes.
Do we want to establish an initial meeting for the newly
So
accepted members of the growth committee? Or do we want to wait until we have a?
I would like to aim at something if we can, but we have to reach out. Fran's still here, nice. And he is, he's available. He's flexibly available.
For the Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce reps, right. So if it's possible to meet on alternate Monday nights from the planning board,
We have Zach on
Zach.
Monday nights, too.
but
I'm not on Zach.
we're not on Zach.
I staff Zach.
You staff Zach.
wouldn't be able to
Yes,
go to.
but Are you hankering for an extra meeting to go to?
Not necessarily.
Not
but-
necessarily. So I think we could start without necessarily professional staff, because we don't have the kind of detailed minutes when we're starting. And I wasn't necessarily thinking we were just gonna add to your plate as far as attending meetings. Does that sound?
I don't feel like I have time to take notes. This is in a minute.
Yes, yeah. Well, so we can meet, and then we can sort of figure out if it's gonna be possible. Is that?
Okay.
Does Mondays, I'm only picking Monday because it's a night we set aside anyway.
Yeah, Monday, I'm available Monday.
Okay. So do you mind reaching out to our two compatriots on the Chamber of Commerce and seeing if we can begin, because it would have to be posted.
To the 15th or the 29th?
So you'd have to reach them tomorrow to be able to post it for the 15th. When's our next meeting? 22nd, right? Well, if we can do it for the 15th, post it for the 15th, if you can reach them, if they're available. And if we can't, then we go to the 29th. Of course, it all falls apart if they're not available on Monday nights.
So Fran, you can make either the 15th or the 29th? Okay.
Awesome, thank
So
you.
whichever is better for the other two then, I guess it's fine.
Yeah, perfect. And then just let us know so we don't skip it.
And we need to ask.
They'll both respond tomorrow.
And should I just make the agenda, would you like, I guess, would you like to meet here? Where would you like to meet? Anywhere that's
Is there any
available?
place that has air conditioning? I'm just asking.
Are we allowed to meet here?
Go for the library.
Actually, the conference table up in the
Oh,
third
that's a
floor
good,
probably has air conditioning.
yeah, if that spot is available and there is air conditioning, let's try for that. That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, that should be
Because
open.
I'm about to die.
And can we specifically tell Shahidul and Pravina that we're going to meet, or that they should come to the next meeting, the 12th? The two applicants, if they could come to the next, to
To
both.
the 20, to the,
To the
to
meeting
the
where we're going to
12th, on
appoint
August
him.
12th.
Yeah.
Yes,
The August 12th meeting?
Well,
yes,
and they
for
should
appointments.
probably also consider coming,
Well, you can tell them when we're meeting too. They can come and watch. They just wouldn't be.
be able to vote, yeah.
I'd be strongly encouraged.
And the other thing is anybody who's been appointed has to be sworn in
Oh.
for, yeah, before the meeting. That just jumped
Is
into my
there any
head.
kind of draft agenda you guys can think of, or is it just going to be introductory discussion? We can talk about this offline too.
Yeah, but you do need a draft agenda. Yeah, tomorrow. We'll be quick about that. Okay, awesome. Maybe, let's do it now. Timeline, top level, organization of the committee, meeting dates and times going forward, and who's gonna take the minutes.
Elected
And a
chair.
discussion about the mission statement and what our task is and roles. Is
Do we
that,
need to appoint Ben Perry and Chuck Joseph, or they're just
no,
automatic?
they are appointed by the chamber. Does that work? At least we have, because we do have to post an agenda in order to be posting the meeting, so, and that will give us plenty to talk about. Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, what is next?
Should we do the A&Rs?
Yeah.
I know we have to do those tonight, right?
Yeah, walk us through what we have to get done.
So we have to get done the 19 John Matthew Road A&R, the Leonard Street A&R, the 300 Wood Street A&R, and I
And the 9 Morse.
think we have to get the 9 Moore Street as well.
Well, okay, let's not skip those. Can we just make a quick announcement about the Mass DOT Public Forum? Dave, you were like right on the game there.
Yeah, that was
Getting
funny,
the
huh?
conversation in front of us, yeah. So for the public, I actually had a neighbor ask me about it, and so for the public, there are public forums this week on the proposed I-90, I-495 interchange work. Go ahead.
Sorry, I talked to the person who's organizing it, and that's an invite-only forum. The general public forum is going to take place on July 25th at Town Hall.
Okay, thank you.
So there were.
Okay.
What is that? Invite
Yeah.
only?
DOT.
Right, and so those were, he clarified, he said those were for invitation stakeholders only.
Okay, even the one at 6:30 here at the town hall basement on Thursday?
On Thursday?
Yeah, I believe so.
Because I did email him and he responded and
We were
It
invited.
may just
though.
be, if you know about it, he'll say okay, because you only know about it because of an invite, because of the letter Amy got. But I emailed him today, and I asked him if there was any other information publicly available, and he said it was only for invite only, and the July 25th.
So when is the public invited to attend?
July
Yep.
25th. I can
At
find
what
it.
time?
I will find it.
Yep. So this is a conversation about the approaches that they are contemplating to address the safety, slowdown, problematic interchanges at I-90 and I-495, and particularly people who live out on the end of Fruit Street in the Roosevelt Farms or the Huckleberry, I think, might have more interest in knowing what plans are being considered.
So it actually might be the one that I think you were referencing, that's in the basement, but it's on July 25th at 6:30.
6:30 p.m. in the Hopkinton Town Hall basement?
Correct. 6:30 to 8:30.
Maybe the email that Amy sent just had the wrong date on it.
No,
No.
I've been getting letters from them all along as a stakeholder, like EHOP is considered a stakeholder somehow, so I'm not sure how that happened, but I've been getting letters over the years.
I wonder if they just changed the date and there's really nothing.
You
Thursday
gotta
at
get,
6:30.
you gotta get connected like Amy's connected, that's all I'm saying.
So I think someone from EHOP will go to one of those.
So,
Possible I could get on the invite for Wednesday?
so I responded, like I was being welcomed, I responded that I was going to attend the Thursday at 6:30, and I'm going. They said, great, we'd love to have you. So I'm
So-
gonna be attending that one.
I'll forward you the email, because I just said I'm a Hopkinton resident member of the planning board, I'd like to attend. And the title of the email was 495 Mass Pike Project Public Input Session. He responded, thanks for your RSVP. The meeting will address the results of the advances in the design efforts as well as public input since the second round of public outreach last fall.
For Thursday or?
That's for this Thursday.
The one on Wednesday is at 1, and the one on,
One,
1.
okay.
And the one on Thursday is at 6:30.
And do you know where that is?
It says it's in the town hall basement.
Not the one on Wednesday.
Oh, and the one on Wednesday is 5 Macadam Road.
So do you know where McAdam is?
I'm not going to Wednesday,
Yeah, I
so I
think
don't.
everybody's gone to that one, so we'll do it good.
So Tuesdays is the 23rd, is what you're, or
25th.
that was the public session.
The 25th, July
25th.
25th at 6:30 PM is the one in Hopkinton Town Hall basement, is the one that is open to the general public for anybody who's listening at home.
And I have heard concerns from Rocky Woods neighborhood too, so I think those people,
Yeah,
those
no, I would-
neighbors will be going.
I would imagine people would be interested, so.
So that's the most convenient one to everybody here, but there's also one July 30th in Hudson.
Okay. You know what, we should just, at our next meeting, if we could have all the sessions in the packet so that people can get to them,
Okay.
that'd be great. Okay. Alrighty, thank you. So, walk us through 19 John Matthew Road.
All
I'm
right,
gonna
so,
perish.
this is an A&R.
Please don't. Joe has some information on it.
Hey, Joe.
Evening.
So this, as a condition of the Board of Appeals decision regarding the building lot at 19 John Matthew Road, they required that the building lot have the minimum lot size of 60,000 square feet for the underlying zoning district. A piece of other land on parcel A will be transferred from the 0 Elizabeth Road parcel to the 19 John Matthew Road building lot. Both 0 Elizabeth Road and parcel A are labeled as non-buildable lots.
Okay. I need it. Excuse me. Appears entitled to endorsement, okay. Do you want to say anything about it?
I think John summarized it pretty well.
Okay. Any questions or concerns from the board? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the A&R at 19 John Matthew Road.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Great.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Oh. All right, I'm gonna scamper down to 300 Wood Street.
let me open it up.
That's not helpful.
Yeah. The proposed subdivision is to create two conforming lots, both with frontage on Wood Street. The two lots will have required lot area and frontage required by the Residence A district in which it is located. The plan appears to be entitled to endorsement.
So say that again, 2 buildable lots then? Okay,
If I can rotate this somehow.
all right. Any questions? Is the applicant here?
He just came in.
It looks like there's an existing building that's going to be close to the lot line.
Correct.
Is
It
that,
says, I think it says garage to be raised.
So with A&Rs, the only criteria that it needs to meet is frontage and lot size.
okay.
So the endorsement of the planning board does not constitute consistency with zoning.
I'm fine.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the A&R for 300 Wood Street.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. And then the A&R for 9 Morse Lane.
So the proposed subdivision is to create a new conforming lot as well as a non-buildable lot on Moore Street. The non-buildable lot will eventually be combined with the adjacent lot, resulting in no net increase of lots. The plan appears entitled to endorsement.
So say that again. So we're gonna, that non-conforming lot is gonna be combined with the triangle?
So, correct.
And then that will be a buildable lot, right? Yeah.
So if I have this correctly, the triangle lot is a separate lot.
Yeah.
And then the oddly shaped
Lot is a separate lot.
lot is a separate lot.
I got you.
They're gonna cut the bottom portion off with the building and leave the back very oddly shaped lot as a non-buildable lot. And then eventually the triangle lot and the other lot will be combined into one lot, making that kind of up over.
I got you, but no net increase in lots.
Right, because
Yeah.
they're taking from one and essentially just putting.
Yep. Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself and,
So I'm Ray Capabianco.
Joseph Gabriel is my son.
welcome. And you live where?
So
I live currently at 9 Morse Lane.
Yeah.
He owns 7 Morse Lane.
Okay. So you're making 2 lots for, yep. Okay, awesome, lucky you. Anybody have any questions or concerns? I will entertain a motion to approve the A&R for 9 Morse Lane.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? See that? All set, thank you. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you.
All right, I'm just gonna do the minutes for June 10th. I'll entertain a motion on the minutes for June 10th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the minutes as written? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, perfect. Thanks again, Kobe. Awesome job. All righty. So the last thing we have to do tonight is Leonard Street A&R. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so let's do that next.
And, sorry, are we gonna go back to Buckland?
Yes, same.
Which one are we doing right now?
The A&R for Leonard Street.
So the Leonard Street A&R does not propose to alter or change any lot lines, boundaries, or other aspects of the property. It does show Buckland Street as a way, which the planning board has determined not to be the case. We've got a memo from or a email from town council, and I will read the portion that they suggested. So the question was, does the plan submitted by Wall Street dated June 12th qualify for endorsement as approval not required under MGL Chapter 41, 81, Section 81P? The answer from town council is no. In August 2018, Wall Street submitted a similar plan. I informed Wall Street's counsel, Chris Timpson, that my firm would advise the planning board not to endorse the plan because it appears to show Buckland Street as a way currently in existence, and thus endorsement by the planning board would appear to make Lot 1 currently buildable lot, which is not, because Buckland Street does not in fact currently exist on the ground. Pointed out to Attorney Timpson that if Wall Street wished to record a plan confirming existing parcel boundaries, it could rely on the provisions of MGL Chapter 41, Section 81X, allowing recording of a plan bearing a certificate by a registered land surveyor attesting to the necessary facts. And I got an email from Rebecca Lacey, Town Council, shortly after this, that said after that was made, they withdrew the A&R, just for full history.
Who withdrew?
Attorney Timpson.
So the last,
Oh, you
the
mean the
last
last time.
application?
Not this
the
one.
last
not
one.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's the last one, yeah.
After that determination was made on the previous
Okay.
A&R.
Right, right.
Okay.
So, you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay, just quickly on the A&R, I mean, this, it's not meant for a intention of declaring a way in existence. Leonard Street is a way in existence and has been a way in existence, and Buckland Street is a way that predates the subdivision control law. So, I think either way. Back when we first started this process, we had submitted an A&R plan, and we had conversations with town council that, and it showed lots at that time, the division of the lots. So at that time, we wanted to cooperate with the town and not put them under any deadlines to sign it or make a decision at that time, so we withdrew it, that plan at that time. So now, we're just basically showing the lot as it presently exists, one lot with frontage on Leonard Street and frontage on Buckland Street. And regardless of what happens during this process with the various applications we have planned, we're still entitled under Chapter 185, Section 5, to build a roadway for access and at some point in the future if we resolve all of our other civil disagreements with the two neighbors. So, or we can access from Leonard Street. So either way, I think the plan is a plan.
Okay.
But I don't want to, if we have limited time, I'd rather focus on the Buckland Street.
Well, we have to decide it tonight and notify you because the decision is due, right? Tomorrow. So.
Say that again?
The decision is due tomorrow.
Right, well, I can extend that. I'd rather focus on where we were for the Buckland Street.
It's just one thought, I don't know if this is worth opening up, but the guidance that we got from town council is pretty clear, and I'm inclined to follow that. So personally, I'm probably ready to vote. I don't know where other people are on it, but
I am as well.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, well, we'll just appeal it and go
Yep.
that route if you want. I think, I don't think really town council understands what we submitted, because we've had several meetings with them prior to during the past 12 months. And I'm not quite sure that they understand that this is a pre-existing lot with frontage.
Okay. It seemed pretty clear that they were pretty on their game, but that is a question for them. I'll entertain a motion. Yes?
sorry, just based on Mr. Petrosi's comments, I mean, the other option is, you know, at his request, we could extend it, and you can reach out to
Town council?
town council and
I'd prefer
work through
that
that.
would be a more.
Well, that makes better sense to me,
It's
too.
fine. If you think there's a disconnect, then
Yeah, I think
fine.
there is a disconnect because.
All right, so let's say, when is the next time we would be able to see
August 12th.
August 12th again? Okay, so let's extend the decision on the A&R, if you're amenable, to August 19th.
Sure, fine, thank you. If you can, are you able to forward me that email so that I can send it?
There should be a copy over there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can also forward you a PDF.
Yeah, no, I just, that way the two attorneys.
I just want to confirm that you can actually extend the deadline for an A&R.
Okay. Do you want to take, while John is looking at that, you want to take us back?
So we left off at, on the fourth requested waiver. Do you have to open up the hearing again or no?
Nope, we continued it
Okay, so, section 8.2.2.8, granite curbing. So we, this roadway was designed as a rural roadway with low-impact drainage features. We're not proposing any curbing on the roadway. And so, especially on the radiuses or, so we requested a waiver for that curbing. And the following waiver plays into that with 8.2.2.c, modified Cape Cod berm, no Cape Cod berm, and no granite curbing. So it's basically a rural street design. The roadway is tilted so that all of the water runs into our drainage swales. It's on the plan, so so it's strictly no curbing on the roadway.
Any comments from the board? Dave?
I'm a big fan of the berm, but I'm just trying to think through how it fits in with the stormwater drainage.
If we don't want anything draining to the north side, that's the way it's oriented, is to drain to the south side.
So
Couldn't there be a curb on
the way the roadway is designed is, we have a series of drainage swales along the side of the road. There's no pipe in the ground like you would a conventional pipe system. So in order to keep the water from entering onto the north side of the property, the roadway is tilted and the water is sheet flows across into the drainage swales, and there's a infiltration trench, I think, along the side of the road. So curbing would interfere with that way the drainage is currently designed. Am I explaining that correctly? And so if curbing were, let's say a Cape Cod berm were to be required by the board, the drainage system wouldn't work as it's designed because it would interfere with the flow going across the street, going across. And there really isn't any need to put a berm on the north side because that water is going south across the roadway. To do a Cape Cod berm, you'd have to widen the road another foot in order for the berm to be installed. Or we proposed a 20-foot paved way, or the way would have to be 19 feet so that you have a foot to install the berm on the north side of the roadway. So that's the reason why we're not proposing any curbing to make the drainage work better.
So,
yeah.
2 questions. One, can you just confirm, how is this parcel currently zoned?
What's it, A? 15,000 square foot, 100-foot frontage.
Is it an A probably?
residential A.
Residential A? So I guess just one point on that, like, I don't know if residential A necessarily means rural.
No, what's defined in your regulations is based on how many houses, so the minimum width of a traveled way, and then rural, it's defined here, rural is 20 feet, and then in your things, it's 10 or less cars is how they define the pavement. I'm just using this.
Yeah.
It's designed as a rural road because it only has 4 proposed homes on it. And that's kind of what the definition,
So I think that through the
you
chair.
know where it is?
Through the chair, this all ties in together because
Yeah.
the 8.2.3.8 that he wants a waiver on, the right-of-way
Yep.
is supposed to be 40 feet minimum.
Yep.
So, I mean, if he's making a 20-foot road, he should have 10 feet on each side right away.
Yep.
Except that we don't have a right-of-way that's that wide. We have a variable width right-of-way that's maybe 30 feet in some areas and 28 feet in other areas.
But he owns the property.
What constrains your width?
The right-of-way.
What constrains the right-of-way?
The stone walls,
There's stone walls on both sides?
yes, yes.
I don't remember stone walls on both sides.
I don't either.
So that's how we arrived at these,
This is not a scenic road, the stone walls should not.
Well, so it's not a road.
Right.
we're not saying it is a scenic road, but we're just using the definitions that are in here that fit into the category.
So my take on it, through the chair,
Yes.
is I would be willing to compromise on the curbing on the south side because that's stormwater, but on the north side, I think there should be a curb, there should be a sidewalk, there should be a right-of-way that's standard for all the other roads.
Okay. And Mary?
I agree with David. I feel like a curb on the northern side would definitely do the protection of, the wetlands. We're trying to make sure that it's all draining to the south. Isn't that extra assurance that it would? I don't know.
Well, there's no wetlands on the northerly side of the property.
But you want it not to drain there, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
Well, we
that
designed
would-
it so that everything drains there. Now,
Right.
if we go ahead and do that, it just simply isn't any, if you're proposing that we put a berm and a sidewalk on the northerly side of the roadway, there just simply isn't any room.
But through the chair, shift the road over, it's all your property, right?
Yeah.
It's easier said than done. I mean, it's not easily done that way.
All right, so we have two, just so you know, we have two votes that are currently for the roadway, sidewalks, and the curbing.
So I'm just gonna push back a little bit, because I realize that Cape Cod berms would impact your storm drainage, but
Not really. It wouldn't, the Cape Cod berm would impact, if it was installed on the southerly side, would impact it because it wouldn't allow water to sheet flow.
yes, that's what I'm saying, but I guess my only point is that bylaw existed before you did your stormwater plan. So, to me, if I was designing a stormwater plan, I would have tried to accommodate as many of the bylaws as I
I
can.
think we comply with your regulations, your stormwater bylaw, management bylaw, and Mass DEP stormwater.
But you're telling me that Cape Cod berms would impact your
If-
stormwater plan?
It would, under those scenarios. We would then have to design some sort of, gaps in the berm to allow the water to enter into those basins. I mean,
Through the chair,
and plus the roadway would have
Rest
to
of the
be,
way, but I'll come
I just
the roadway would have to be a foot wider on each side to accommodate a Cape Cod berm on each side. So, I mean, we can do the curbing if that's what you want. We just can't do the sidewalk. Sidewalk is it's five more feet plus 2 feet for, so if you add the pavement width of 20, you add the berm on each side, that's 2 more feet, that's 22 feet. Now you're gonna add 5 feet for a sidewalk, that's 27 feet. And so this road isn't wide enough, especially in the first 200 feet, it's not.
You're gonna be making the road, though.
It's just
So
not a
you're gonna be constructing the road as a matter of practicality, so you can make it work. Amy?
No, I agree that I think we need to have the berm and the curbing on the north side at least.
And the sidewalk?
And the sidewalk.
So that, you're seeing the shape of the road, coming.
I understand, you can deny the waiver and we'll put the sidewalk in, but that doesn't, I don't know how it's gonna get built that way, that's all. I'm trying to be completely
Okay.
honest.
All right, so just to clarify, it's either granite or it's Cape Cod? I mean, we're granting one of them?
Radius of the.
When you say radius, does that mean
We're
distance?
granting one of them though, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're not having both.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't,
All right.
yeah.
So in the interest of time, we're going to be meeting again on August 12th. Just to be sure, when we come back, we are going to decide the waivers on the curbing, for sure. The curbing, the width of the road, the sidewalk, and we should address at minimum the dead-end streets, turnaround, and how we feel about that. And we should know before then, in hard documentation, that you actually have the right to connect.
To Maple Street.
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
Maple
for
Street
sure.
Extension.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I spoke with them tonight.
All right, so I'm gonna entertain a motion to, yes.
Do you want to clarify the A&R process in this, or do you want to do it
Oh,
separate?
I do want to clarify the
So
A&R.
I couldn't find anything in MGL stating that you are allowed to continue, and not being an attorney, I don't feel comfortable
Right.
making a decision saying that that's okay without talking to town council. So my recommendation would be either make a determination on the A&R or request that he withdraw
Yeah.
the A&R and submit it at a later time when everything is figured out.
Well, I'll cooperate, we'll withdraw for the time being.
Okay, okay,
No, we're not in any big rush here, so we want to make sure we do it right. And everything like that.
perfect. I appreciate
I just
that.
wanted to clarify that we were talking about not the first 222 feet when we're.
Yes, thank you, no, not the last couple
Right.
hundred feet
Right.
where,
Right.
right, thank you,
Just-
yep, yep.
Can I just ask one question on the sidewalk? I mean, I think, is there I mean, there's 4 houses on the street, the sidewalk doesn't go anywhere. Is there a reason why you want a sidewalk for 500 feet? Because I certainly can't build it where the 2 neighbors are for the first 200 feet, so just.
So we will, you
can
can
think of-
absolutely, you
think
can
about it.
absolutely ask that question. We can start with that one if you
Yeah.
want. We're just in the interest of time, we have to wrap it up and we have somebody waiting. But you may start with that question if that's where you want to start,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay,
On the 12th.
so I will entertain a motion, so the A&R has been withdrawn.
I don't know if you have to vote to allow it to be withdrawn. I don't know
I
the
will
process.
entertain a motion to allow the applicant to withdraw the A&R plan without prejudice.
So moved. How about we waive the fee for the next submittal?
I am happy to waive the fee for the
Sure.
next submittal.
Yes.
Look at us go.
Just a few $100s, but it's.
It's something. It's something. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? I will entertain a motion to continue the public hearing on the Paper Street application and the stormwater permit to the 12th of August, and the decision on the 19th. Is that right?
So moved.
Is that amenable to you,
Yes,
the decision
yes.
being extended to the 19th? All right, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks very much.
Yep. Yes.
If you guys work later, I'd stay later. but-
No, be gone. Sorry about that, thanks for your patience.
Thank you so much. It was close. It is hot in here. My name is Ken Marsters. This is my son, Ken Jr. We're the developers of Highland Park, and we're in our final phase. We've been doing this since 1986. We actually introduced the open space bylaw to the town in 1986, so that's how old I am, okay?
Wow.
We had worked with John in January of 2018. We got our bond, our Stony Brook Road, we bonded the road. At the time, I only requested that 10 lots be released. And the reason why I did that was because I thought if I only released 10 lots, I would only have to pay taxes on the 10 I released. Sometimes that happens, and then you wouldn't have to pay taxes on the remaining 12. That would save me about $70,000. Well, Hopkinton's really smart. They don't buy that. So I'm paying taxes on everything anyways.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, you know, I've paid a lot of taxes in the last 30-some-odd years up here, let me tell you. And that's okay, it's been a pleasure. So we're here just to release the remaining 12 lots on the bond that we had paid. Now, we did get a letter from Luckner, who's our engineer, suggesting that we increase the road bond 5% annually, which I think is a little outrageous, because the road bond, what you do, a year and a half ago, we took the bond, we worked with Luckner, he came up with a number, we added 20% to that number, and we paid that fee. So I think to add, and he wanted, his math says 5% per year, it's been a year and a half, and he came up with 10%. Well, that's not my math anyways. So, you know, if you want to increase the bond, can we negotiate a number, or do we even have to increase the bond at all? That's my,
Okay.
that's my request.
He explained it pretty well.
Thank you,
I don't
John.
really have much to add. That was the number Luckner came up with. He had a formula. He didn't really come up with or give us a good reason as to why that was the formula. I assume it's an industry standard type thing. But it is up to the planning board to determine the bond, if they should.
How much
increase
is the
it.
bond?
So currently they have paid $400,299. Luckner has recommended the 5% increase, and I believe that was just for the 5 lots as well, because he did it on a per lot basis. So now you, as much as I understand, if I understand it, you're now requesting the other 5 lots, so now it's going to be 10 total lots. So I think
we're requesting another 7 lots.
so it would be 12 total.
Yeah, 12 total.
So all I'm saying is, with Luckner's calculations, that bond addition would be higher. So if the board wants to follow that, we would have to recalculate that, and they would have to pay that higher bond if we were to go with that recommendation.
But keep in mind, whether we release 5 or 12, and we're releasing the 12 now, so I don't have to go through this exercise again. It's the road. The amount of lots doesn't matter what the cost is for bond release. It's to do the whole road, and we have a whole formula here that's $400,000.
Yeah, I have a tendency to commonsensely go along with that. It's a certain amount of money for the road to be repaired at the end of time. I don't have a real burning desire to add to the burden. What's the total bond we have now?
$400,299.
And what's the length of the road?
About a mile.
Through the chair, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
the road is pretty much built, right?
It's built.
It's
Yeah.
built. It's built. It's to repair it after construction
right,
is
right.
over.
It's to do some catch basins, additional catch basins, some fencing we have to do with the Rod and Gun Club and pavement.
So
It's not much.
To your point, though, is it, and to you, it is designed for the length of the road, not necessarily how
Right.
many houses are built on it?
I'm guessing maybe his formula is taking into account the damage to the road that may
Yeah.
come up per lot. I
Yeah.
really don't know.
Yeah. But you're on the
I'd like-
hook for the whole road anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna bond it and do it the whole road anyways.
I don't know, I'm open to people's thoughts on that.
It's plenty of money. I mean, when we did a budget, he increased the budget, it's in his writing, and then he added 20% to the budget, so there's more than enough money there. We've been doing this since 1986. I currently have a $20,000 road bond that the town owes me. It's been out there for 20 years. I haven't even collected it yet.
This is a totally.
I'm good for it.
Totally subjective comment, but Highland Park is what I think is the best neighborhood in town as far
That's
as the way it's
totally
built and the way it looks.
Thank you.
All right, does
Thank you,
anybody
thank you.
have any,
Thank you, Dave.
first of all, so here's the thing, it's the release of the lots and it's the bond decision, right? What's the bond release? I mean, we're not releasing the bond, it's
No.
whether we change it. Oh, I'm in.
Right, whether we,
You're
I'm
looking at
combining
Haynes
two
yeah, whether we
things.
change it.
I'm combining
Right.
two things, okay. All right, we're at 6 past. Release the lots,
Yep. And no increase in the bond.
are you making that motion?
I move.
Second.
All right, is there any further conversation?
I just have one more
Yes?
question. Just for a point of reference, does anybody know what bond is for REC Hopkinton, Mastriani's development? Because that's about a mile long as well, and just as a point of comparison.
I can find out, but I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it then. I was just curious if it was consistent.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Opposed.
Okay.
Do
You got-
you have a revised Form K?
Yes, I
with
do.
this?
Are you getting people to sign something, or do you?
Yeah, we need the board to sign this.
I need the votes again.
Oh, she
Oh.
needs the votes again.
Yes,
Who and who?
yes. So it was moved by Mary, seconded by
okay,
Dave.
fine.
Everybody was a yes except for Deb. Deb's a no.
Oh, you're voting against?
Just out of curiosity, I haven't been down that way in a while. Have you started building any houses on that road?
Yeah, we have 4 under construction right now. I'm not building all of them, which is pretty neat too.
So I'm just going to
building one
remind
of them.
Dave that we are
Basically some of
past
them.
time, so he can pursue
Offline,
his
offline.
curiosity another time.
I know, just get that signed, I'll shut up.
All right.
I'll shut up.
I wanted to just shoot something out. Gary and I and John, hold on a second, I will remember. Our meeting, do you need me to sign that?
So, do you want to, yeah, everyone needs to sign it.
Yeah,
Or I
so
guess
don't
everyone
anybody
who-
leave. And you need it
5
before you
people need
go?
to sign it. The problem is it needs to be notarized, and I don't believe there's a notary here. So we would need one planning board member to come tomorrow or whenever.
Is somebody
and
gonna
have it
volunteer
sign
as
it
tribute?
notarized saying that all these plans are who they are.
What is tomorrow, Tuesday?
So we're open until 7.
Yeah.
There's a notary there till 7?
Yeah.
I would assume somebody in town is a notary.
Okay.
I hope. Is it Elaine? Clerks is a notary.
They are. Connor's a notary.
Connor is.
Because I have to come get sworn in tomorrow anyway.
Yeah.
If I can come in the evening.
Elaine's a notary too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be
So-
greatly
Okay.
appreciated.
Okay, so
So
we'll
only
do,
one of us needs to come in tomorrow?
right.
So,
For the notary?
so everyone
Okay.
has to sign it, or I guess
Five.
Deb, 5 people don't
majority.
have to sign it.
Okay.
But then somebody needs to come in and just,
Okay.
Sign it in front of,
Let's get the
attest that it
5
was.
first. We'll get the
Okay.
5 first.
All
Baby
right.
steps.
I can go tomorrow after
Thank
the evening, so let me write that down.
Yep.
2 other things on the agenda. I don't know if we want to go over them, the minor
I
amendment.
think we're all set with these.
Excuse me, yeah, can I give you a call tomorrow?
Yeah.
Once we take- Thank you so much. Thank you.
Chamberlain Lane, minor amendments at Queens Farm. I don't,
Yes.
they're not due today or anything? I
Yes.
just didn't know. if we want-
Yes, I do, really fast. But what I want to say
Sorry.
is that Gary and John and I am going to just shoot this out there, and if people have thoughts, they can funnel them straight to me or to John, or both John and I, are going to attempt a new process to see if we can drive some efficiencies, and that is, we're going to start posting all the hearings at 7:30 and adopt that methodology, and at least try it for 3 months to see if it helps us. And more than that, Gary is going to help keep us on task. So if you hear him moving the agenda and times and so forth, take no offense. We're going to try and drive a more efficient process.
So I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that,
We
starting
are
at
going to
7:30.
post the hearings all for 7:30 so that we can be more fluid.
But
in
there'll
when
be
we-
an order as
Oh,
to
post
how
them
we
for
We will-
7:30.
Yes,
okay.
but we will have an agenda posted and try to adhere to it.
Great.
But
Okay.
That's a
then
great
if we
idea.
have people who
Who don't
continue and don't
come,
show up,
yeah.
we can utilize the time more efficiently.
It also just saves us that process of having to open the hearing,
Open
continue
it,
the hearing,
Yeah,
and
that's
kind of flip back and
absolutely
forth.
100%.
Yeah, that's a
And
great
so,
idea.
so we'll even have target times for discussion, and we'll be fairly upfront that, our intent is to spend approximately 1 hour on this topic.
So will we just open all the hearings, one back to back at 7:30?
We're
Open
open
1,
them
2,
all.
3?
Yep, we're gonna open all the hearings for the
Okay.
night. Yep, exactly. Yep. And then, and definitely provide feedback as we go forward with the new process to see how it's working, if there's ways to make it work better.
Sounds great.
Kind of shy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so shy, so shy. Okay,
So,
I just want, go ahead.
Just one more thing on that, Mariel, too, and I think if people have other ideas for how we can be more efficient, please share them with us. I mean, I think, what's that?
Air conditioning. Sorry, go ahead.
But we weren't more efficient when we didn't have the hot room in here, so. But I just, in general, I think that just with the staff we have, we all put a lot of time into this. And, I know personally, I feel like I think that's an area for us to, I like how we operate as a board, but I think there's some opportunities for us to improve from the efficiency perspective. I think that'll serve the public well, I think it'll serve us well, and I think it'll serve our staff well,
Yeah,
so.
and I candidly kind of zoned out, Gary, so I'm sorry. But did you also say, so this hopefully allows us with more fluency in the process to be able to get farther and have less repetition of hearings as well, we're hoping, right? So we don't keep starting all over to repeat, to catch up and so forth.
The half-hour hearings are
But we
tough.
don't,
end
we
up
also,
repeating.
we definitely don't want to lose people's participation and people's vibrancy and that whole thing, but we do want to, try to grind through the material, if there's a way, more efficiently for everybody.
Well, I think it is good, like we did tonight, vote on some of the waivers now, so we
Yeah.
don't keep discussing the waivers at each meeting and nauseam.
Right.
Yeah,
Just
that was
just
nice.
decide.
That was really helpful,
was
and it
nice,
gave
yeah.
some very good direction to them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Good, that's good feedback. So if we have, it's hard, you have a big, long list of waivers. That kind of sits wrong for me a little bit just to start with anyway. It's just a bit more challenging conceptually. Okay, so Haynes Farm bond release. 2 minutes or less.
So they requested that their bond be released. It's constructed, it's 4 houses. It's off Hayden Row, Ash Street. Still learning more.
Super close, Dave.
That's why it's been bugging me since last Tuesday. I'm like,
We walked past it
where is
today, and I
this
was like,
4 new
oh.
houses on Hayden
Anyway.
Road?
Patrick lives there.
I know.
Yeah.
That was my fault. We received a confirmation letter from Luckner stating that the as-built plan was received and the project was constructed as approved. Pretty straightforward.
That was the pictures that we had in the
Yes.
package? Yeah, okay.
That little side street.
Yep.
Any questions, any comments? I'll entertain a motion to release the bond.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Highland Park, oh, we did that. What was the other thing? Oh, the minor amendments. Do we feel like we can do that? I feel like I can vote on these minor amendments, but how does everybody else feel on the Chamberlain Wayland? I had the opportunity to talk about it at length before our first meeting.
I'm sorry.
It is, so just for the public, the minor amendments to the Chamberlain Wayland special permit conditions mean that they have an extra amount of time. The first 2 units would have to be delivered after 21 building permits, is that right? Or all 3 of them?
No.
No,
What's that?
2.
I'm sorry, I made
2
hash
at
of that.
21 months and the third at
21
31
permits.
months.
21 units.
Units, and the third at 31 units.
yeah.
Yes, yes. And John, as the principal planner, would be the functional approver of location of units as the process plays out.
Yeah.
All right, so,
And there are criteria, I guess.
yes, there are criteria, I saw that, thank you, yep.
And there was also be a time frame.
Yep, and this is just for process to be quicker, because the real estate market is so hot, but also none of us really want the task of going out and approving it with much.
Is there some sort of contingency for a backup person for you if you're on vacation or out
No,
sick?
so that was the time limit. We put 10 days, because if I'm on a week-long vacation, I would assume it'd be 5 business days, so we could do 2 weekends, 5 business days, and then a day.
Okay.
And then if it's not approved within those 10 days, or if it's not, no determination is made within those 10 days, it's approved.
It's approved, okay.
Can we have a backup, the planning board chair, in that eventuality? I mean, I don't think it matters.
I guess the concern that I would have is, if for some reason they reach out to me, and I'm on a 2-week vacation in the Caribbean, and they don't reach out to you, how, without any coordination?
Is it Elaine the backup? I mean, if something
Could be.
comes
Yeah,
to
that's a good idea.
the
That's a better
town
idea.
planner, then, and you're out, or you're on leave or whatever.
Where does your
Automatically
email go?
forwarded to her? Yeah.
I think it
No,
should
my
be.
email does not get automatically forwarded to her.
If you're on
It
vacation?
should.
You could.
I mean, I haven't been on vacation, so I don't know
Yeah.
the process. Usually it's just an outgoing message that says,
Out of the
you're not
office.
here.
And contact so-and-so
And contact, yeah.
if you have an urgent need?
Yeah.
It needs to
That's
say
what I
that.
do.
I haven't had an away email yet because I haven't left.
It should have
Will.
somebody to contact.
Yeah.
It will, I guess.
I think the fact that it says principal planner and not a person's name is actually, it answers my question. It really does, in a sense, have a backup because it's whoever's functioning in that role, and if that temporarily means it's someone else in your department, then I think that covers it.
I could add a piece that says,
For urgent issues, please.
or if the principal planner is not available. I guess,
Or designate.
I don't think.
think
you need
about
to.
having two.
You know what, I think it's, I actually think so. We're not gonna let you go on vacation, that's all. We're
That's
just-
all.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what, they can figure out, if there's something that much of a time crunch, like,
Yeah.
guess what, either one of them's
Yeah,
gonna
they'd figure it
escalate or
out.
call somebody else.
Yeah, I was just concerned about having two.
They for sure will.
Yeah.
We don't need
I
to-
agree. They're very
In the future,
proactive.
if there's another principal planner and there's
Not worried.
conflicting opinions.
I think it's fine.
All right, so as written in our packet
As written.
is the motion. Go ahead.
I'd prefer to say principal planner or their designee. It's just so that if you had a medical leave for a month or something, that you could designate Elaine or someone else.
Okay, that's it, that makes
I
sense.
don't know. That's
fine.
Is that,
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen, but that's fair. All right, or designate. He's gonna designate somebody. It'll be up to you. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm abstaining.
That's a no. Yeah, that's an abstention. Okay. I wanted to say one more thing. That's a couple of things. So I am coordinating a telephone meeting with the chair of the select board and the chair of the school committee to just coordinate early about the steering committee role and our mission statement and our objectives for the growth study committee, just to make sure that there is early enthusiasm, buy-in, or we make some changes as we're establishing the committee at the outset. And also, I would like to also add into that conversation some sort of coordinated process for us to address the school bus issue at Legacy Farms North. I'm also, I will at that point ask the select board to put it on their agenda perhaps so we can talk about it at a meeting coming up in the public. It seems to make sense
That
that
issue is on our agenda for next meeting at 7 o'clock.
the what?
The Legacy Farms bus issue.
Okay, so new plan.
I can take it off.
Yeah, no, no, we did that because there's a time crunch. I was thinking, I'm still gonna talk to them, in that three-way conversation about it, because I think it makes sense for us to coordinate. But I'm gonna go to their open, mic night tomorrow, and just, introduce it, let them know that we're gonna be talking about it, and ask them to keep it on their, agenda, put it on their agenda so we get talking about it sooner rather than later. Unless people have objections to that approach. Oh, look at him. Good.
So,
Second. He said so move, I said second.
Do we need to vote on it?
You don't have to.
No,
vote.
I said so.
This is me positing some way to get this conversation going on the three.
And I applaud your effort.
Seems,
Yeah.
I guess my only thing, I'm just sensitive to committing, I'm not totally convinced that it's our issue to deal with. And I'm just sensitive to schedules and making sure that we get to the things that I think that we are at least fully responsible for. So, that's all.
Fair enough.
I just ask if we.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think that we have to identify who is responsible and how to go forward.
but are we
So
putting it
I'd
on the
like-
select board's agenda?
I'm gonna ask them.
But not us.
I'm gonna ask them.
But I like the idea of when you're meeting with the chair of the select board and the chair of the school committee, I think that's a
Yeah.
worthwhile topic to figure that out, because
Yes.
I do think it's important to figure out where this resides. And if the decision is that's with the planning board, then okay, I'm fine taking that up. I'm just, my personal opinion,
But I think the funding and the conversation is gonna end up more in the school committee's lap.
Anyway, we gotta go. But
Yes.
just so you know that those conversations are happening, so the public is noticed and you are noticed, and we will report back.
And you got everything off your finger?
Yeah, do you like how I do that? I learned that in grad school.
I'm gonna wait to sign
Motion to adjourn.
tomorrow, right? Okay.
Yes.
One more
Second.
point of order.
Wait.
Since we did set
Oh,
a
you don't have to
hearing
sign,
time
right.
for the things for next meeting,
Yes.
I'll post the agenda as I have been doing it.
Yes.
August 12th is the first agenda.
August 12th is the first agenda where we have the new system going in. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And Dave is on the new Trails Committee, right?
Yes.
The new Trails Committee?
Yes.
At a future meeting, can we discuss how Trails Committee can review, like this project, the Whisper Way has trails in it, and it would be
Yeah.
good if the Trails
Yeah.
Committee
Yeah.
gave a feedback.
We actually need to make appointments next meeting as
Oh,
well.
okay.
I think that one's coming up.
Okay, so we can discuss it then.
Wasn't I already appointed? No?
I think so.
But
We asked him if he would take
You know
it,
what?
but I don't know.
We asked if
You know
you
what?
would-
It should have, the
It's
notes were
annual.
wrong on the Trails Committee.
Yeah.
Is there a motion on the table?
I've been appointed last meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe.
second.
Hey, and one of us
I
needs
think
to
we-
chair.
did we adjourn?
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. That's why they pick one.